today.
Yeah.
So
Hello,
everyone.
Really appreciate you guys.
Today we're just talking
always
about the
letting us
director of photography, what their role
Wait,
is
Annie,
overall.
Annie,
What?
did you say like you're about to start recording? Anyone that doesn't want to be recorded?
Yeah,
Turn
I
off your camera?
said I'm gonna start recording.
Okay, because you said start recording, but you didn't. I didn't hear you mention that other part. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I mean, nobody's really in video right now except for me, you, or not even me and Sarah.
Yeah. All right.
And
just wanted to make
and
sure.
my emoji.
Yeah, just wanted to make sure because, like, you know, some people.
But my emoji doesn't want to be recorded.
But yeah, today we're just going over like, you know, director of photography, what their role is, any tips or information anybody has from experience. We're talking about the sound log that sound recorders use. We're talking about a gear check-in list that you'll use for an overall production, usually on like a lower budget production where your overall, all of the equipment is yours and you have to oversee everything. And then the last thing we were talking about was, what was the other thing, Tiny?
It was script.
Oh, table reading.
Table reading.
That's probably the biggest thing we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah.
Table reading with actors and what they're for and how to get a good one.
Speaking of, if we have time, because you said we might be able to do it quick. Devinder isn't today. Hello, Devinder. I was going to ask him if we have time. I was going to ask him a few questions about the if we have time, maybe after the meeting or before, or like in the recording still, about when we were working with actors the week he couldn't come.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can talk about it after.
I will come back into the meeting. I just got a call.
Okay.
Okay. See you later.
All right, so let's go ahead and start with director of photography. Does anybody want to explain what a director of photography is from their perspective or what they learned this week?
James, you don't shut up about the fact that you're one. Go ahead. No, I'm kidding. I ruined the joke with my.
Anybody want to like mention anything that they know about a director of photography before we just like kind of delve into it?
They make the movie pretty.
Okay.
Director of photography is somebody who speaks like James Lewis.
I was gonna say I tried making a joke, Brent, but it sucked because I stumbled on the words and like.
It's okay, you suck, period, but it's okay.
Well, yeah, when I try to be funny, it just doesn't work. I don't know why I started.
Just stay in your lane. Don't lose your lane.
Yeah.
All right.
I do not like the title. I do not like the title director of photography.
Oh,
I prefer cinematographer. Yeah, I agree.
Cinematography?
Okay.
So we actually saw that this week there was a few people that were mentioning it. Usually, technically, they're usually used interchangeably, but on a technicality, it's usually not called a cinematographer.
What the heck?
I couldn't hear anything.
You munching on something?
What was that? Okay, so on a technicality, usually they're called the director of photography unless they are also operating the camera, and then they would be called the cinematographer, but it's become more interchangeably lately anyway.
But I want to hear why Jorge doesn't like the term DP, because we heard this one person, which I was a little annoyed with him, because the way he explained it was like, oh, I don't like the term cinematographer, because when I think of cinematographer, I think of an old guy with film, and I'm like, what? That's dumb. Like that's dumb. Like if there's a difference between the two, that's one thing. But you're like,
so the reason we don't like director of photography is because it makes us sound like pretentious assholes, like that guy.
Exactly. Like, oh my god.
The problem is that the director. Oh, thank you, Sarah. It's actually a self portrait. So the reason why I don't like that title is because it sends out a mixed message and people don't really understand the problem with that. It's just like any ship can't have more than one captain. It's the same thing. If you're calling that's a problem when you say director or art direction or stuff like that. I mean, yes, you can be the problem with the director is that the director is the one that orchestrates everything, and that's what it's supposed to be. And if you're going like with which director, and even though if it's known, everybody in the industry knows what a director does and what a cinematographer does. I don't really like that term because it gives some room for confusion in people's minds. And what I mean is, a lot of people that are cinematographers, they think that they have more power than they actually have. And I've had several fights. I've been involved in, not fights, but arguments with people that call themselves directors of photography. And that's why I have such a big problem with that term, because it's not, you're not directing. You're directing light, if anything.
So they feel like they're more important than they actually are.
That's my problem. In my experience, most people that actually defend the term, the nobility term that they want to put, I've had those bad experiences. And it's like, that's why if you see my films, I always have the title cinematographer, because that's the director of photography term was a title that just it's fairly recent. It wasn't like that when the film began. So it's just a vanity thing. And that's a problem, because vanity can get in the way when working on something.
Yeah.
Gotcha. James, you feel the same way?
Brian?
You had similar experiences? Because you said we.
Yeah, I agree. Or more so that just like, I just feel like, I mean, personally, I wouldn't want to use the term. But it's just, I don't know, when you're a cinematographer, you're just kind of the agent of the story. You're not really, you're not as important as you think. Like there are some times where I've been on sets where I'll be like, I would have wished this person would have hired a better sound person instead of me. And it's like, I mean, it kind of sucks to say, because you're like, I also need this. I need money to survive. But like, sometimes you're also just like, I'm not really that important. Why does this person want to shoot this on a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K, but not hire a sound person?
So you're saying that some
sound is
people,
always overlooked. Sound is the most overlooked.
Right. It's like we're not, so it's like one of those things where we're not really that important. So
I mean, I
feel
hate
like-
to say that. I would hate to say that. I feel like
No,
every
I would
aspect
say
is important.
that the cinematographer is just as important as any other gear that's making the film move. But the problem is when
I
it
don't
comes,
think it's as important. So I feel like when you give yourself that title of like director of photography, but you don't extend that same respect to the other aspects of filmmaking that are, in my opinion, arguably more important.
well, what I would
they
say
try to be like
again,
they're above sound and stuff like
What,
that.
Jorge?
You know what you mean?
Again, what I would
somewhat like
say
that.
is I would never say that the director of photography is not as important, because he knows how to light, and he knows how to work the cameras and the lenses and
Holy crap. I'm gonna mute you for a second. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, the cameras and the lenses and everything, and he knows how to deal with the photography overall. You know, that's why that terminology is there. So I would say that their work is just as important as any other part of film set.
Yeah.
But what I really want to make clear is that when they say that they're defending the title director of, I'm a director of photography. Well, if you want, and they start moving and changing things in their heads and trying to direct actors and trying to direct stuff, and they want to like tell you how to do your job as a director or whatever. Then that's a problem, because they're not. If you want to fucking direct, you know,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
turn into a director. That's what it is.
So
That's why
Okay.
it's so important to make things clear, like in the beginning. You know, if you're gonna be a cinematographer, be a cinematographer. Don't get confused with the term director, because you're not directing. You're directing light, not even the camera, because most times you'll see that great directors, which know what they're doing, they know where to put the camera and what lenses to use, and they know how to communicate with their cinematographer. The cinematographer is there to make good composition and get focus on the lighting and more stuff. It's not just well, I'm just going to push a button. Of course not. A cinematographer's position is extremely important, but they get confused. That's the problem. Some of them get confused.
Yeah, I think I understand. I think I understand what James means as well. I feel like what he's trying to say is just that a lot, because this term is new, I feel like when people call themselves that, they like to think that they're more important than most people in the production, and they are on par with the director, like you said, if not more important. So I understand where you guys are coming from. That's an interesting perspective, because most people we saw and we heard from, they called they called themselves DPs, but it wasn't in a pretentious way. It was just like, oh, I'm DP or cinematographer, whatever they choose to call me. And then there were a few, yes, who were like, I don't like the term cinematographer, and I was like, I was getting a little annoyed, but now I understand.
Yeah, in my experience, people that defend those terms are people that you're gonna have trouble with on set.
Yeah.
So people that don't care what you call them, that's fine as well. Like, oh, you want to call me a DP, you want to call me a cinematographer, it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, there's a name for everybody. There's a name for every position. You know?
So you wouldn't correct them if they called you a DP, is all I'm saying. Like, it's fine.
Not at all. I wouldn't correct them.
Okay.
Gotcha.
But on, like, if it were my production, like if I write something, I direct it, and if I'm writing and directing it, I want a DP on my own stuff. I use DP as a verb a lot, but I don't really like calling myself a DP. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I use it as a verb.
Yeah, I've noticed.
It's actually interesting that you guys all bring that up, because a lot of the videos and a lot of the websites that were talking about directors of photography, one of the main tips was just like, humble yourself and don't think, you're up here while everyone else is below you. Be a team player.
Actually, that's actually that actually should be a big priority, teaching people humility, because there's a lot of people in this industry that let the idea of power get to their head.
Yeah. And they start like, and
I've met a lot
that Jorge has problems with, and everybody really, is just like the main problems can come from just people being arrogant and thinking that they're better than your production or better than you at your production. Like Jorge.
Yeah, I feel like there's a difference between knowing where you are at in your career and what you and just having some standards. I think that's fair. Like, if you feel like you don't want to do something, that's your choice. But yeah, there's a very big difference between that and just being like, well, I'm not good enough for this. I mean, I'm too good for this. This isn't good enough for me. That kind of thing. And I feel like maybe the balance of that is where people get lost in both senses. Like, it's okay for someone to say no to a project and feel like they don't feel like they can contribute to it, or maybe they don't feel comfortable in it because it's not what they're used to or not what they've worked so hard to accomplish. But also be humble in the sense of, don't snob at it. Don't say like, oh, it's lesser than,
Yeah. I don't think just because it's a small production that you can just come and crap all over it or something like
Exactly.
that. Yeah, and the problem is some people don't understand that just because they're in charge of of a department for 1 day or 3 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever, however long the production is, it's you're not in that, you're in a position that's transitory. It's going to be ephemeris. It's going to end. So I mean, put your feet back on the ground and just do what you're here to do. You're not supposed to be doing stuff. It's like me trying to tell the art department how to, I don't know, hang a curtain or changes. It's bro. Yeah. That's not my decision. My decision is what type of couch I want, because I'm gonna work with that with my cinematographer, because we have a color palette and a lot of things that we have to do, but I'm not gonna tell you how to carry the couch. It's like,
I think
where you're supposed to get the couch
into
from.
Each other.
Yeah.
Functions bleed into each other. Like, one thing contributes to the other thing, which contributes to the other thing. That doesn't necessarily mean. Yeah. you're in charge of everything. Brent?
Yeah. So
Okay.
I got a question. I was listening to you guys, and I just want you guys could clarify this a little bit better for me. So the difference between the cinematographer and the cinematographer and the camera operator, is it that the just camera operator, he just operates the camera, catching the shots, whatever, and the cinematographer is just basically in charge of making sure that gets basically he's delegating the lighting, the sound guy, making sure the camera guy is getting the shot that the director wants, and he, is he just responsible for all those moving parts? In that case, that's a lot.
Yeah, actually, he doesn't
So
work with sound. We only saw one person talk about.
What?
Oh,
So
I was just gonna say he doesn't work with sound.
No,
right.
not working with sound, but
No, not at all.
so you don't work with sound.
Has a
Just
separate person
You
for the
better
camera
work with sound. Because if you got a shot and the sound guy needs to know where he's got to sit,
Oh
Right.
no,
Right.
in
Gotta
that,
be.
in that.
I mean, they
Yeah,
need to
but-
have some kind of discussion at some point. I've been on
right.
sets
That's
where
what I was concerned
I've
about.
been on sets where like every shot was a wide shot, and there was literally no place for me in the room. So like me and the director had to sit down and figure out like, yo, where are we gonna? Because I can't lob everybody, and then lobs aren't the ideal for film.
So you
So
would
it's
talk
like-
about that with the cinematographer, not the director?
Yeah, the sound guy plays, like I said before, sound is very, and I'm not a sound guy. I just appreciate
that's
the
fair.
craft.
Oh,
Like
me
I
too.
do
Like it's a
sound,
lot of work.
but you
I
gotta
can
understand,
see
it's a
this.
lot. This is a lot of work. So I want to this set. We had to talk like, where am I going to put these mics? So we had to talk about how are we going to disguise microphones. So like we had to hide mics in the lamps. We had to hide mics in a set of flowers by the window, wherever the set was, because every shot they were doing in this one particular movie was all shot on like a 16 millimeter. So there was like no way for anything. You have to have these discussions with the sound guy. You have to work around it.
But in that,
Right, but
in
that's
that
sort
case,
of, I mean,
you would
that's like
have it with the
having a production
director
meeting or like
or
a-
the cinematographer.
It's the
communication.
cinematographer. He's the one setting up the director is setting up the shot as well. But the cinematographer is placing lights here and here. So he's going to tell you like, hey, if you put a mic there, you might cast a shadow. Or
Oh,
I'm putting lights here. This is my lighting plan. So this is where you can put your mics at.
Right.
See, no,
but he's
that's
not
very
exactly
interesting.
going
That's
to
a
like
perspective.
direct you on how to do the sound is what I think Brent was asking.
And then Brent,
No,
to answer your question, Brent, I say this every time in every meeting, every production is different. So you may get on set and the DP is running camera. It depends. Like a lot of lower productions, you'll see the cinematographer or the DP running camera. It's just the way. And some cinematographers just like to run camera. But
Right,
then
'cause
you
they
know
wanna
you
get
have
that
higher
control.
budget where they
wanna get
hire a
that
camera
control.
guy.
Mhm.
And then it's his job to operate the camera and get the shots. Like me personally, like I like to hire camera guys for my shoots just because I'm not good at, keeping focus or any of that stuff. So I'd rather prefer
Yeah,
to.
directing the camera looks like a hard job, honestly.
So bottom line, guys, so you're basically saying that it all depends on the situation and what size set you're on, because as I'm reading and I'm looking at the videos and doing the research, it's like a lot of times it be sounding like the cinematographer be getting behind the camera sometimes, and then like you said, in that situation where it depends on the shot, you got to make you and your sound guy got to be on point. I know that's a different department, and the director and them gonna deal with making sure the sound guy is they're up to par with everything, but he's still got to be out of frame. Like there's a lot of communication between the cinematographer and everybody in that shot.
So
Yep.
from what we read a lot, it really does depend on the cinematographer. And like Brian said, on the situation, we heard of a lot of cinematographers that like to do it themselves. But yeah, like it depends on the size of the production. It depends on the cinematographer. It depends.
So if
on-
you have a large set and you have a separate person for camera, they will only be doing the camera operating, like you said, Brent. And the director of photography or the cinematographer, whatever they title him, he'll just be overseeing the camera department and the lighting department, and maybe like communicating with the sound department, like Brian was talking about. But he's really just overseeing the lighting department and the camera department to tell them how to set up the shot according to what the director wants, or how to
Right.
best serve the story. And then the camera operator will listen to the DP and follow through with whatever movement or framing that the director of
That's some
photography was
crazy
talking about.
communication because
It
like,
looks so hard, right?
no, because that to me, like if I'm trying to as a cinematographer, right, and I want to get this capture this shot with the window and stuff in the background, I'm relaying this message to the camera operator. And if you don't get the shot, I could get frustrated, like, yo, I just told you how to shoot it, and you didn't get that shot that I wanted. That how does that play out?
And
Where
that's,
it's like,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I'm trying to figure out, like, I understand on big sets, these guys know what they're doing. I'm just saying that, like, on a
Yeah.
small scale where, we're novice and, not novice, but, you know what you're doing.
Mhm.
Would you guys feel comfortable being, like, I'm talking to the cinematographers too as well. Would you guys be comfortable more doing the camera operator and being the cinematographer?
I would just say one thing. I'm not a cinematographer. I'll let the cinematographers talk. But I was just going to say that another thing we saw in our research a lot is that the bigger cinematographers, or a lot of cinematographers, they normally have people that they really trust working the cameras as well. Like normally they call them to be a part of the crew when they get onto a movie as well. Like we've seen cases of that happen
That makes sense.
where he's like,
so
I
it's
really
like
want
it's a
this
lot
guy.
of communication and like having good first impressions if you're first working with them. And then if you have that good working relationship, that's when they say, hey, can I have this guy or this crew? I already have my own people that I like to work with. We work well
How does
together.
that work with a big budget where they're like, oh, we like how in Game of Thrones where they had to go use the people in, what was it, Greenland, where they were shooting in Greenland or Ireland, what was it,
Zealand or
Greenland,
I
right?
think it was Iceland.
Iceland. So they
Was
were
it in
shooting
I
Iceland
don't know.
and they did
one,
not.
one of the lands.
I think it's
One of the
Greenland.
lands. I know that
one of the
Greenland
lands.
is cold
Greenland
and
is
Iceland
cold.
is green. So
It's Greenland because it was cold. Iceland is a little bit warm during that time they were shooting. It was
so
cold.
Oh, he's
weird.
got the
Yeah.
sound effects going.
Hey,
Yeah.
Tikafale, what did I say? What did I say about?
You say, say. So I was trying to figure out, like, they had to go and get a whole different crew out there to a whole production company out there that they used. And it's like, as a director, do you just like, how do you deal with that? Were you picking up a new sound guy, new this, and just working with these new this new production company? Cause they couldn't afford to transfer their old production company from when they were shooting in different, parts of the world they were shooting, whatever.
So
I
from
feel like they also have meetings,
I've
don't they?
seen, like on whenever the set splits like that, they have separate positions, separate people. They have like a second unit director. It's called second unit when it splits off to a different part where they're filming at the same time but in different locations. They have the primary, the
Principal.
principal unit,
Photographer.
which is like the main thing, whatever the main focus is, and then they have the second unit which goes off and does their own scene or their own whatever. And they have a second unit director, second unit cinematographer, because it's all happening at once. The reason you're splitting it is because you need to film it all at once so that it can all come to editing at the same time.
Right.
So any of the cinematographers want to answer Brent's question about how you work with the camera operator or how you would operate the camera?
Yeah, Brian, you said you would do that a lot. Like how do you find a good working relationship with a camera operator if you're the director of photography?
I mean, if it's a guy you trust, you should just be able to say, hey, medium shot, you go in, you lay out. Normally you would have a lighting plan. You would come in, you would display it to the gaffer, the grips, and they go about setting up your lighting plan. So you say, I want a Kino flow through here, or put this over there, I want this light to go through this window, blah, blah, blah. They go out there and they'll set it up for you. You look at the overall image, and if you're happy with it, keep it. If you want to put some more diffusion, you want to put some more fill, whatever you got to do, you put that out there. If you got to do it yourself, you do it yourself. If you got to get somebody else to do it, you do whatever you got to do.
Have you been in a situation where you have a camera operator and the first time you're working with him and you're telling him to do a shot and he's not really getting it? Like, how do you go about that?
No.
Well, then you would have to just show him, I guess. Like,
That's a lot of time consuming too, though.
Right.
It can be, but at some point, like, you have to find an even a breaking point where it's just like either we gotta move along with it, what we're going with, or you just gotta sit, take over for him, which
Yeah,
is
it'll
not an
take even
ideal
more
thing to
time
do.
to let him wait until he finally figures it out. Yeah.
Right.
But it's not hard to get him to get the angles that you like.
Okay.
If you want like a low angle, like the current film I'm working on, the biggest problem I'm having is that I'm so used to like close-ups and
Yeah.
like tight shots and stuff, and he's like the direct opposite. So like every time I'll say like, let's set up this low angle, he'll do it, but it'll be like super wide. And then
Right.
like, God, you gotta punch in. And he'll be like, all right, and he'll just punch it in. And then there's a couple of shots I had to zoom in myself, like in post, like because it was just too wide. But
Right.
he eventually got used to my style and how I liked it, and then he kind of adjusted to that. But when we first
Right.
started out, like a lot of his shots were like extremely wide, and I'd be like, yo, let's go to this close up. And then his meat, I'm so used to getting like the standard the establishing shot, moving into the inserts, and then getting
Right.
like everybody's individual shots. But
Right.
he is more or less like, yo, let's get
The whole
movement and get like knock it all out in one shot. And I'm my style is completely different. So it
Right.
kind of slows him. He's moving so fast, and I'm moving like at a slower pace because I'm
Right.
more
Right. You want to
working.
get more expressions on the character's face.
But at the same time, I also like his style because he lights the room. So like he lights it up in a way where you can move the camera and not have to make so many adjustments. So I like that a lot. I love that.
What do you mean light up the room? What do you mean by that?
So
He
like,
You
also
never
has
seen
to
The
light it?
Room?
No, not the room. What?
so he'll light. So when you set up your first initial shot, you'll light it a certain way, and then you'll move in for close-ups. But then when you go to the reverse angle, like you have to like readjust everything because the lighting is gonna be totally different. But the way he lights the room, it's kind of like you don't have to make so many more adjustments.
I
So
think
like, you can
I know
flip
what you're
it,
talking about. Right.
and then like maybe you might want to bounce a light here, or maybe get a rim light, or just adjust a
Right.
couple light. But you don't have to do too much because
Right.
the way he lights it up, like he puts these light panels, like the way he has it set up.
Gotcha.
Maybe I can show you some but
Yeah,
he'll set it up. He'll put lights in like.
I know what you mean because I was looking at a video where they were talking about that, where sometimes they'll take a shot and then when they try to do it over the shoulder, they have to move all the lighting all over. But in certain scenes, if the room is well lit in a way where you just put like like the diffusers, whatever, and like you said, different things to just bounce the light off, and that works opposed to removing the whole lighting system all around to get the over the shoulder shot.
Yeah. Exactly.
Remembering, guys, that if anyone else has like a question, don't be afraid, don't be shy, send it in the chat if you don't know how to do the hands raised emoji thing. Like, this is why these meetings are so good and so important, because we can watch all these videos and read all these articles, but when we talk about, holy crap, honey, why is my echo so weird? That was weird.
Oh yeah. All right, go ahead.
When we talk about it with people that have been through it and people who have their experience, we learn completely new things, like I would never have like known that thing about the sound. That was an interesting perspective because we didn't see that perspective in any of the videos and articles. We saw someone talking about how they also worked with sound, but it just seemed like they did a little bit of everything because they were, starting their own thing. So yeah, that was a really interesting perspective. So it's really cool to get to like listen to these different perspectives and ideas. So ask as many questions as you guys like want. Well, so yeah, just any questions you may have, because that may, be a teaching moment. Anyway, anyone else want to have anything to add to Brian's comment, or can we move to the next subject? What are you guys thinking? Oh, Stephen asked, do storyboards get utilized very often, and do they play a part with the DP?
I heard sometimes the DP will come in after the fact of the storyboard, but sometimes they'll be the ones to help the director work on it. So
I was very
I was
mixed
actually
with
curious, anybody have any experience when you are a DP or when you have a DP, do they usually help with the storyboard, or have you guys seen more often than not they just come in later and try to capture your shots? Or you try to capture your shots?
I've experienced both, to be honest. Like, I prefer myself storyboards as a DP. Like, I prefer the storyboards because it helps basically figure everything out. But I've been on some sets that don't have storyboards, and it's a lot harder to work with when you don't know what's half the time what's going on. Like, you read the script, but sometimes the director will have a different vision than the DP. So it's always good to collaborate so that
So that
both,
you have like that, you at least know where you guys are coming from before you even start.
That makes sense.
yeah, because whenever I've been on sets, it's always like, even being like when I used to PA and stuff like that, I've seen it, and I've seen the DP and the director butting heads the whole
Sorry.
Which shot? So you say like the final product of the projects you've worked on, when they have a storyboard, do they usually turn out better in your opinion?
They turn out a lot better, I find.
Okay.
Anyone else have anything to add to that?
Yeah, 'cause I think it's important for the DP and the camera. Well, I guess it's more important for the DP to have that vision, or definitely know the script, have backhand and front hand, and to be able to portray this vision that the director is trying to get out there, or the story.
I don't know. I've been on different sets. I've been on a set where the director was like, I'm going to give you full creative control. You do what you got to do. And then I've been on sets where the director wanted, shot by shot. And I prefer that. I prefer that more. Like a director that comes in and say, hey, this is the shot I want.
Right.
Go for it. Like I like that. But
You
then,
like more structure. You don't want no freestyle. Like just go with your feeling.
Normally
How
for
would you
me,
go
a lot
about
of
that
times,
shot by shot? Like, would it be a storyboard, or would it be just like on the day sitting down and?
A lot of times the director will already come in and have his own storyboards of how he already, how he envisioned it and how he had it laid out. Okay. So like, I'll just go by off of his storyboards. But me, like, I'm so used to doing like the 48-hour film festivals and going to film school, and like there's just no time. I mean, it helps. It definitely helps. Like I've worked with storyboards before, and I've sat down, I've done it myself, and it definitely helps. But like there's just no time of day. So what I do now, like if you stick to that formula, like establishing shot, insert, and then maybe whatever other shot you think of, if you could stick to that, you should be safe. But like for me, what I do is I have a little DSLR I go in, or a director's viewfinder, and then I'll just go and place some subjects into the frame of how I want to frame them. I'll take a picture on each side, get a over the shoulder and another over the shoulder, and I'll just flip through the pictures in the camera to see if those shots link up together, and then I'll frame it from there. So it's kind of like me creating storyboards on location.
So you're creating them on the fly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you
I guess.
prefer it that way, or you prefer it with the director to tell you exactly how he wants his shot?
Say what?
Do you prefer it that way, or you prefer it the way the director comes and gives you direction on how he wants his shots?
Well, I show it to him. I show him everything. Like I'm always like I have my little client monitor, and I'll sit it in front of him. Like that's another thing I do pick up on. Like I'll be on some sets, and the director is more focused on what's actually happening in front of him as opposed to what's actually happening on the monitor, which is a big thing, because it's going to look, what you see in person, you'll be like, okay, it looks cool, but it's going to be different from what you see on screen. So like you have to like be actively viewing the monitor, and like not too many directors actually pay too much attention to that. So I'm always like, here's the client monitor, here's my shot, this is what, are you okay with this, is this what you want? So that way they're not like in post and like, man, I hate it, I'll never work with that guy again, and and you know what I mean? So I always try to make sure that they see everything that I'm doing before I go about doing anything. And I always like to get their opinions on it, because if it's not what they want, then I'm not trying to, just like he said, like I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes as a cinematographer or anything.
That's good intel. Thank you.
Here's my experience. if normally when you go into a set as a director and you just leave all the camera, well, the shots to the cinematographer, that means that you're just a lazy director.
Exactly.
Because you have no
Right.
idea what you're gonna tell, what type of story you're gonna tell, and how
would
you're gonna
be-
tell it. Every single frame of the film has to be thought of, has to be thought out thoroughly before you start a film. Because if you're just gonna say, oh, okay, I'm gonna be directing just actors, and then it's like not taking responsibility for your film. So it's I don't have that experience. In my experience since I started doing this, I've always been the director that knows what to get. And because it's not that I know everything, because and I think a lot of people would agree with me. When you go to a set, you can have the perfect plan, but it's never going to turn out that way.
Right.
Your plan is never going to be feasible. You can have you're going to get close to that, but it's not going to be the exact same that you were planning. So yeah, you have to work with the cinematographer in order to make things work. You know, and maybe there's a setup that's going to take a long time to set up a light because it's not close to a window, or it's very hard to light that scene. So maybe you can move the actors and move everything. That's when you work with the cinematographer in order to get the film going. And you can't get stuck unless you have a limited budget, which I've never met anybody with that experience. But you can't just stall a production because there's a shot that you want to have in a specific way. I mean, I'm not Stanley Kubrick, you know, I don't have the unlimited budget to do fucking 70 takes of something, you know.
Yeah.
So it is very important to have an idea. And I just, this is my take and this is my way of doing things. I do not make storyboards. I do shot lists. I know what I want to have and I want to do, because sometimes it's very hard to translate storyboards into reality, because if you're drawing, perspective is completely different from what you're going to get. So for
You have
me,
an idea in your
it's
head,
easier to work
and
with
when you
shot
get
lists.
there, it can be different. We've read that in a few books where
Yeah.
the thing with storyboards sometimes is you can have an idea in your mind of how you want it to look, and then depending on the location you find, or like the setup you need, it will look completely different, and that might end up
Like you
making
said,
it
it's
better.
spacing, so that's a huge thing that plays into the exact shot and frame you want. So it also
The
takes
shot-
a lot of budget.
The
like
shot list is pretty safe too, because there are times where you'll be done and you'll be like, well, I forgot to get that shot. So the shot list is definitely a safe way to go.
Mhm.
You're not wrong. Like you're
Yeah,
not
it's an
wrong.
interesting alternative. I
Like,
feel like, yeah, it
but-
depends very much on the person. Like
No,
Dana
it
said.
depends. Yeah, it depends on your style. You know, if you don't get a shot, and if going through the storyboard is going to help you, be my guest. I mean, everybody has their own way of doing things. You know, so
Yeah.
so and I think it's a very good exercise at first when you're beginning, when you're like getting into this. It's extremely important that you make storyboards, even if you don't follow them, because that will make your mind think in terms of framing and in terms of visual storytelling.
The shot list, I feel like, is an interesting exercise as well in the beginning, because it helps you have an idea of what the shots are, what they're going to look like, and just memorize those names and the types. I feel like that's also really good.
Yeah, I
would
would say both, but I mean in a more visual type of thing. If like you're thinking about the specific shot and you have like an insert, or you have something that has like a two shot, or I don't know, whatever you want to get. And if you miss that in your shot list, then maybe that could be a refresher. But for me, I'm used to working with shot lists only for now.
Okay.
Another thing
Interesting.
about storyboards is that if you create a storyboard, let's just say your director has no recollection of the 180-degree rule, and in his storyboard he crosses the line of action, and you try to mimic his storyboard, you can find yourself crossing the line of action trying to recreate his storyboards. So like, you won't do that with a shot list because like, all right, because you can't really see anything. You're just going by medium, close up, whatever. But with a storyboard, if you're constantly trying to recreate, there is a possibility that you might break some rules, even though, rules are meant to be broken and it's not that big of a deal, but
Yeah, but I
It
think
can
that
make your shots
if
look
you have a
sloppy from what
180
I've
cinematographer that knows
seen.
what they're doing,
is jarring if they do it wrong. So
It can make your shots look very sloppy and jarring from what I've seen.
Unless
What?
that's the intention, like
The 180 rule?
making
No,
if it's trying to make
going
it
against
like the line, the 180 degree line.
going
Yeah.
against the 180 degree rule. I mean, yeah, like Sarah said, I think it's a very stylistic choice. I just feel like it should be used sparingly if you're going against it, because I have seen
Yeah.
in some shows and movies it happen and it completely looks weird. I'm like, what? It takes me out of it.
You have to have that very clear in your head. I actually won a bet at 3 a.m. with a cinematographer. Well, he was calling himself a DP. Maybe that's gonna tell you the end of the story. And I actually won a bet when it came to where the line was.
God,
And,
we're making
and it
everyone
was
that calls themselves a DP feel incredibly self-conscious right now.
no, not at all. I mean, it's anybody can just call themselves whatever they want. It's really not up to me. It's just like there's an American Society of Cinematographers. There's a reason why they're called cinematographers, and they're not American Society of Directors of Photography.
Oh no, I'm just joking. Go ahead, continue.
No, I know, but it's whatever people want to call themselves. It really doesn't matter to me. So yeah, I actually want to bet at 3 a.m. because you have to be very clear with the line, and it's so important. I don't cross it deliberately, and I think I won't use it a lot in my career because I don't really like handheld, and a lot of people love handheld. That's not my style. That's how it is.
Not mine either.
Not mine either.
So there's a lot of people that love you. There's gonna be a lot of Michael Bays, that it's fake camera shake, but it's okay. It depends on your style. But for me, I don't.
I feel like if it's done well, yeah, it looks pretty cool. The problem is it's almost never done.
Well, it's done for the wrong reasons. People are just doing it so they don't have to get a tripod. That's all it is, or any type of stabilizer.
Yeah, it makes it easier to get the shot most of the time too. So.
And don't get me started on zooming.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Bro, please. No, people that shoot in like a TV series style where they're zooming unnecessarily, like into faces. Well, rant's over. Go ahead.
It's fine. Oh wait, but that's you finished your story with the cinematographer douchey guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just about the 180 rule.
My expectations were low. That's good. Or high. That's good. Guys, like we've mentioned, if I just thought I'd mention this real quick. If you guys are having trouble, like if you're watching the materials and some of the videos you aren't understanding completely, or some of them, I try to filter through them, guys, but there are some that fell through the cracks. Please don't, I feel so bad every time a crappy one comes in. I'm like, ugh. Because there were so many, there wasn't enough time to filter
Talking
through.
about the videos in the syllabus, some of them
are
we
bad.
weren't able to filter through them this time, so some of them are kind of like crappy.
Yeah, and I want to like cringy. Yes, and I want to break the screen. But I'm just saying, if you guys think that you want more detail on something, or want to understand a little better, more resources, the playlist we put together on the YouTube channel has way more than we put in the syllabus on each individual topic. So if you want to learn a little bit more about that, it's there. And the ones that aren't there will probably be recommended to you if you're watching so much of that crap. So you'll probably recommend you stuff that isn't on there, and you can let us know and we'll add it.
Sounds good. Yeah, I find that a lot of times it's a matter of doing it, because once you've done something, you just understand it more. Even if it's you wouldn't actually, it's first go at something, but I noticed that mixed in, you're reading about it and then you actually look at it at the same time. You're like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, and like we said, every aspect of this blends a little into the other. So we're learning about these things today, but they were mentioned briefly in other things, and they just connect together. And the more you understand one thing, the better you'll understand the other. And then
Yeah.
you find the thing you really think you're good at, you really want to learn and want to dedicate yourself to, you'll delve deeper into that with a better knowledge of the overall picture.
Yeah. Hey, Sarah, Brent, you guys had your hands up, then you lowered them. Did you have any other questions you wanted to ask, or?
Yeah, sir, I wanted to find out about like with the lighting, but I don't think we're talking.
I'm sorry, Brent. I thought you just forgot to unraise it. I'm sorry.
Oh, you just took my hand down. It's okay.
No, I didn't. It went down somehow.
But
Yes.
but the lighting, are we gonna be talking about lighting, or should I just leave that for later on?
We're going over lighting. I think it's this later on this week, but yeah, we'll be talking like basic lighting. We're gonna delve a lot deeper into lighting next. I think it's next semester, but basic lighting will be later on this week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thursday's meeting.
Cool.
Do you have any questions you want to like leave as notes?
Yeah.
Or
I have a question for Leah. No, just trying to figure out, how important lighting is. I know with the sound guy, but I've seen some shorts, and it's like the lighting was so horrible that it kind of like the way the storyline was good, but the lighting made the story look so dull.
Mhm.
Oh yeah. Why? Why did the lighting make the story look dull? Now that
Because it was dark.
maybe
It was so like the scene was like more of a fun, playful scene, and the lighting made it look like it was a creepy scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
looking at
So-
lighting's a huge thing because
I didn't have
lighting
enough
plays
light.
a
From
lot to
Twilight
the
Zone.
emotion of the scene.
Right. It was like I'm
Oh.
looking at it. It's like the story was funny. It was good, but then when I started looking at it, I was like, why did it seem like it was like creepy, sad, and I'm like, they're joking around. Shouldn't the light be kind of like a little bit,
Yeah.
bouncing off of them? And
some of the videos we have, I feel like this week, didn't we watch something this week, honey, with the director of Joker talking about colors and
Oh
lighting?
yeah. I
As
think it
far
was. I don't know if it was this week or last week, but yeah, he was talking about the Joker and how the lighting played into the character's emotions.
Because he was a
And how you use lighting
cinematographer.
to really portray what the character's feeling, and that's another
Right.
element to like how to portray emotion. Not just with, it's not all just the actor's portrayal. It's also the lighting,
Lighting, the
sound,
camera.
it's the camera movement.
yeah,
It's an
A
ensemble.
lot of different elements that are going together to make it you feel what's going on.
Yeah, my concern is about lighting because I believe if you're trying to tell a story and like you're saying, it depends on because each moment or each frame, like you guys were talking about when you're shooting something, each frame tells a part of the story and it continues frame by frame. So do you constantly change lighting depending on the mood of the character or how things go?
Yeah,
You can.
usually it depends on the scene, and you'll change the lighting depending on the scene. You don't really want to like do a revert, like if they were talking about the over the shoulder thing, you don't want to change the lighting too much to where it looks different, because then it's not going to look like they're in the same place.
Yeah, you don't want
In
to
the same-
drastically change it.
Right. Yeah, if it's in the same location, you want to keep the lighting very similar. And then when you're going to the next scene, depending on what that scene calls for, if it's a happy moment like you were talking about, or if it's more sad, that'll play a lot into the lighting and the color grading of that.
And then you also have the colorist. So like we're gonna mention a lighting, I'm pretty sure either this week and then next semester we'll go into it a little more.
Yeah, this week,
I
later.
just don't want to get off
kind of
topic
talking
because we have
about the
so much to
basic
cover.
setup of how to
Is
get
that
it up.
okay?
Sorry, let's not
No,
get
no,
off
it's
the topic.
fine. Like just leave the note there. We're definite and we'll come back to it. Is that okay?
No, it's not okay, but yeah, sure.
But
No, it's
you
just
know,
because we have
you
so
know
much to cover today and we already have like a schedule. So like if anyone wants to mention it like really quickly, we can. It's just because it's so much to cover, guys. And we just don't
Lighting's
want
a
to get
lot.
off track.
So yeah, like
Yeah.
this week, we're basically just talking about the basic setup later on
Okay.
Thursday.
Okay.
The basic setup
I
that'll
do-
light a character, like an interview setup, that kind of thing. And then next semester, we're delving deeper into
There
it.
are some videos that I
Emotion
might
of
send
it,
you this week, Brent. Is that
and
okay?
how to
Can I
light
send you
different
some
scenes.
tomorrow?
That's much better. Send it to
Different
me
All right.
lighting.
Yeah, I'll
kind of
send you some tomorrow.
tonight.
Oh, well, this might end at like midnight and then we're going to be like converting the video. And I still haven't made dinner, by the way. And yeah.
That sounds like
So-
a personal problem, but anyway.
Fine.
Sarah
Fine.
asked how much time is usually given to create a storyboard.
Yeah,
As much as you need.
Yeah.
It's part of pre-production. So however much time you need to get ready.
There isn't much of a deadline in pre-production.
Depend. Oh, it like
Depends on the production.
Depends on the
yeah,
set,
depends.
how big
Once
the
again, it
production is.
depends on the production, the scale. Like, normally when they green light something, they'll say we want to start production on such and such a date, which means you have exactly 1 month or 2 months to get everything situated or whatever, depending on the budget and whatever. But if it's like your own personal or your own passion project, or your friend, hey man, I want you to set something up, like you can take as much time as you need. But
That's true.
if you're
Yeah.
working for a company like Warner Brothers or Fox or something, they'll give you some harsh deadlines. They'll be like, oh, but normally they have people that will have artists that will, they'll assign to you that can help you out on that department. Like, and there's programs you can use to create your own storyboards now, and you don't have to be an artist anymore. And
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think we're looking into storyboards later too, guys. So we'll probably delve deeper into that too. Maybe make
Okay.
our own, just so we can kind of get like what Jorge was talking about. Kind of get a
Yeah,
visual.
please, if you have any questions on those topics, like keep those notes, keep those questions. It's just because since we have so much to cover, we want to make sure to stay on topic and not like move from one thing to, like, we do occasionally move from one topic to the other when it relates to it and like it's an overall discussion, but we're trying when it comes to like the overall thing about that topic to leave it for the specific day, if that's okay. We don't want
No,
you
that
guys
makes
like,
sense.
I can't ask
Okay.
questions.
And also, if you guys have any questions, like, you can always ask me too if they're too busy as well, or ask anyone that's else knows that stuff.
Yeah, like you guys can just reach out to them, whoever's willing, and they can answer, or you guys can reach out to us and we'll ask them if we don't know, stuff like that. Or we'll be like, hey, Daniel, can you answer this question because we're busy or something like that. So
Yeah,
anytime you guys
anytime,
have
so-
questions about anything.
Yep,
And if
I'm
we
there.
ever have questions, we definitely go to everybody that we know that knows a little bit more than us about it and ask. So don't feel bad about coming to us and asking us to ask them or asking them yourself.
And also, it's always good to get second opinions. Like if you heard one thing, make sure like the other person says the same. We try to make sure that everything we hear, we see in multiple sources and not just, oh, one source said this, so that's the only source that said it, but it must be a rule. Like it's good to like have critical thinking in those moments and be like, this makes sense, even though one person said it, I agree. Or this sounds weird. Let me just make sure that it's, because there's a lot of resources online and a lot of different opinions online that we've heard that we disagree with. And
like the guy who didn't like cinematography.
Exactly.
He didn't like people being called a cinematographer because he felt that was like an old person.
Oh,
or whatever that guy said. So
man, you got.
That's always good. That's why we have so many different videos saying the same thing too. It's because like different perspectives are good.
Yeah. No, I like that.
This, of course.
And I think, somebody could also be like, you could talk to that same guy again 6 months later. He'd be like, I love cinematography. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. They can change their mind. Like people, especially once they start delving into it. So yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the tips for directors of photography that either you want to be a director of photography or you want to know what it takes to be one. Some of the tips they gave are just general tips, like leave your ego at the door. Don't bring your ego, like Jorge was talking about. You don't want to try to act like you're better than anyone else. It's a team. It's a team involvement that you need to work together with other people and collaborate to make this thing. Listen to the director's vision. At the end of the day, the director's vision is over the cinematographer's. The director is the one guiding the story. So don't try, if you think you have a cool shot and they don't want it because they don't think it's going to go with the story, don't get offended, and don't try to like, I don't know, don't lash out at them, I guess. They said like, don't get wrapped up in the latest and greatest technology. They see a lot of people do this. They think that they can't film yet because they don't have the newest camera or this like an Ari, or they don't have a Red or something like that, and they can't film yet because they don't have what?
Black Magic.
or whatever. Like they don't have the highest end cameras, so they
Yeah.
can't film because they need to have 4K, or they need to have, and maybe an 8K camera now. So like they say a lot of people get really
Name
wrapped
brand
up in like
specific.
thinking they need this stuff, and then they don't want to make their film because they feel like they don't want to make it without having it look the best. And they said even if you have that stuff, even if you have those cameras and everything, if you don't know what you're doing, you're still not going to make it look good anyway.
That's true. Yeah.
You have the best camera in the world. If you light it like I'm lighting this room, it's still going to look like this, and I look weird and red because of the walls.
It looks
So it
horrible.
doesn't matter what
Yeti
kind of camera I
insists
have
on
in
wearing it.
this room. I could have any camera in front of me. It's still going to look not the best because I don't have the right
The proper
lighting.
lighting and
Yeah. This actually
But,
makes sense to get
At
better
least you'll
lighting.
be in 4K.
What was that?
I said at least you'll be in 4K.
Oh yeah, exactly.
But
There'll be
like,
more
if you have-
detail of how red I look.
Yes.
Okay, Brent, I was gonna send you more, but I already sent you like a bajillion just because you asked for it. Well, there you go. I sent you like 20
Why
But
you
yeah,
telling
so
people how
lighting
the person
videos.
was giving the tip. They were
but
just
you
like,
wanted 21.
if you want to make your film, just go out and make it. And if you really feel like you don't have the equipment you need for it yet to make it good, make something else. Make a starter film. Make something 3 minutes. See how it is. See the flow. Make mistakes. See what you did wrong. And
Yeah,
then
I
you
did
learn
that.
from it. So when you are ready and you do feel more confident, you can buy that equipment and know what you're doing instead of just be like waiting for it and waiting for it and waiting for it and never getting to do it. So that was one of the tips they had. And
But even look at phones these days; they can film pretty impressive.
yeah, a lot of like the newest iPhones and stuff, and
My phone,
some of the new
phones,
Androids, like they're like really, really good at filming. They don't.
Yeah, my 11 Pro, me and Coda, I actually shot B-roll for a wedding because we didn't have a second camera.
Yeah, and it turned out great. Some of the shots were better than the stuff I was getting. So it's just
And I'm also blind
where you're
people,
doing
so
it,
would you look
what
at
the
that?
lighting is like, and stuff like that.
I just love to throw that out there because the
Sarah's
shots were
right. The biggest thing is having a
better
group
than his. And
that's passionate about your project, that actually feels like that are encouraging and they want to help you make it. That's the biggest thing, I think. And I
Yeah. And then like
having a story and a plan is also, I think, maybe the most.
yeah, because if you're gonna just
after that,
like, at least
story
try
and a
to make
plan, and
something
then
that's
people involved.
yeah, because if you're just gonna okay guys, let's film. Okay, what are we gonna film?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are people who also
Because then you're wasting people's
some
time.
people try to go
money,
out and just shoot, and it doesn't work because they don't have a plan. There's nothing. There's no story. There's nothing there. It's just let's go get some shots. And those people are like, I don't know, I've worked with people like that, and it's annoying because they don't think any of this needs any planning, and that's definitely not true. Everything needs a plan. There's a reason there's pre-production, and that's the planning phase. That's why.
Yeah, but it's part of learning. So if you go out and you're like, you know what, we're gonna film something, then you realize, hey, I needed to plan more. Guess what you do next time? So it's better to
Hopefully.
or you come up with like a little bit more, and then you go out and kind of plan it, and then you're like, oh well, the lighting was shit, and you go back and you go, okay, what can I do here?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like we said, we're gonna have this eventually at some point this semester. But the more you're learning about shots, the more you're learning about lighting. Take your phone, take your camera, practice it around your house. Film your cat, Sarah. Like just follow your cat all day. Film with a camera.
That's a good idea.
Once you learn about because composition, framing, and the camera movement can all be used with anything. So as long as you have that down, at least you're going to get some parts of it. It might not look the best you want it to, but at least you'll have the general idea down as you keep going and keep.
You guys have no idea how many test footage of red camera footage of somebody's cat there is on the internet. Like, oh my god. So yeah.
The dogs are just gonna lick the camera and try to be all like, cats don't even give a crap. So they're just like over there, like living their lives.
Yeah.
Like yeah, sure, whatever.
No, you get more confident as you kind of like go along. Like I've made a couple like I'm not posting these. but like it's.
Oh, I love their faces when they're being recorded. I remember recording mine. It just looked at me like, "What are you doing? What's wrong with you, you crazy person?" Like, I love it. But red cameras, wow. I have a red camera. I'm gonna test it on my cat. It's like if you can afford a red camera, you can afford like maybe an Uber to a park or something, can't you? To like record more stuff. I guess moving
Well, that's the other
objects.
thing that they say, like, if you have equipment, try to just go out and do something. Like, don't just keep it in your house. Like, okay, now it's time to wait. And like, because people think that sometimes when they have that stuff, they can just wait for people to come to them. And that's another thing they said, like, waiting is the biggest killer of all films. It's just like people waiting for the best thing, people waiting for people to come to them, people, go out and do stuff.
Yeah, you need to a balance between waiting and doing, because if you overdo, that's bad too. I've done that.
Yeah, that's true. Like, you don't want to overwork yourself, and you also don't want to, like we said, you don't want to jump in without a plan. But it's different than just
I've
waiting,
also done that.
waiting for something to
What if
happen.
you have a plan and you just want to jump in?
Yeah. All right. I'm going to continue on to the next thing. So they say if you're a director of photography, definitely read the script, plan, and practice. Some people there are saying like they don't even read the script; they just kind of come on set. Lower budget usually, but they don't read the script, come on set, and then they just don't know what they're doing or why. They don't have any idea of what the story needs. And as a director of photography or a cinematographer, you need to know the story to capture.
To move on.
Because if the director, like Brian was saying, if the director's one of the directors that are just like, you have full control, tell my story with your camera, and you don't even know what the story is, then how are you going to tell a story based on that? Because there's a lot of emotion that goes into the camera framing. Everything has a purpose if you look deep enough into it. So you definitely need to start knowing all that stuff. They say that a director of photography should scout the locations with the location scout or location manager to see where they're going to be shooting and how it's going to be set up and if it's going to work for the shots that the director needs. And then they just say, educate yourself, study films, watch the behind the scenes. How did they get that shot? Do you see a shot you like? How did they get it? What did they do? And if you can't find it in behind the scenes, go on to forums, ask people, figure it out, try it yourself, but learn how to like do that shot if it's something you want to do later.
That's a good idea. It's a great advice.
Play with the tools that you have.
What was that?
Play with the tools that you have.
Exactly.
Learn them.
I find that like if you wait and you're just like you try to be too professional all the time, because there's a lot of people like, well, don't put out something that's not very good or this, that, but then you end up doing nothing. There's nothing ever good enough.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we were saying. Like that's the biggest hindrance to everybody is like waiting around trying to see when the perfect moment is.
Yeah, it's just finding that balance too, because sometimes people are like, oh, I'm just gonna half-ass it and do whatever because it's not gonna turn out great anyway, is also another bad extreme. So like finding that balance, put stuff out there, work, but give your all. Don't expect, oh, it's not gonna be my best work, so I'm not even gonna try, because a lot of people do that too. So yeah. Hey, Colleen.
Okay, so those are the tips that I thought were really good from what we were seeing. Does anybody else have any like really good tips that they think that wasn't said right then?
What are you doing?
Or a director
You're
of
like
photography.
smiling and moving back and forth your head.
No?
He's a bubblehead.
Sorry, honey. Colin was looking really weird. It was like smiling and being like,
Brandon
moving his
him are
head back.
joking around. They say that when you're a director of photography, the questions you should be asking is, what is the tone of the film? What is the color palette that needs to be used to portray these emotions? What other films inspire the look of this film? And what visual effects do we need, if there's any, in the scene or the movie itself?
I think if anything did inspire the film, try to make sure it's not too obvious or looks like you're copycatting the heck out of it.
I agree.
So this
like
is
feel a couple things, but not too much, because
this is the biggest difference between Marvel and DC. So DC
Oh, here
has
we
like
go.
this dark, gritty, and it works for Batman, but it doesn't work for all DC movies. But that's the tone that they set. Marvel, on the other hand, if you notice their lighting and their cinema, a lot of their movies kind of match up, and they have like this comic book type feel or look to it. It's light, bright, and there's a lot of colors to it. But
A lot of love.
yeah, and I think that's where there's a saying they have in the industry to say if like when they do TV pilots and they don't work, they say the cinematographer is the first one to get fired. And if you notice that, like that's what they'll do. They'll fire the cinematographer, and they'll.
Well, you just started a war right here, so thanks for that.
I mean, it's the truth. I mean, that's what happens.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I agree with you on that point. I just think like I'm one of the few people that actually really like the dark version of Superman because I always thought he was boring. So.
But does it work for Wonder Woman?
Really
does it work for Green Lantern? Does it work for any other of the movies that failed?
Flash is my favorite.
And look. So take a look at Wonder Woman 84.
Oh, that was garbage. They tried to make.
There you go. And look at the cinematography.
But they didn't try to make it gritty. That's the thing.
I know.
They didn't make it gritty. They tried to
maybe they should have done it gritty, right?
Oh, okay. That's your argument. I thought you were saying like
they 100%. They tried so hard to be Marvel with that movie so much, and they're like, let's change the cinematography up and make it look like a Marvel movie, and it fails.
Yeah.
Justice League, if you guys have seen the newest,
so good.
Zack Snyder's versus the original, or not the original. I don't know what
Zack Snyder's
versus the theatrical version.
Versus the Justice League.
So clear that a different director and a different cinematographer can make a film.
And you can see ego all in it because some scenes did not need to be reshot.
I agree with Brian.
You see the ego in there.
Gritty. Justice League, I mean, DC is just gritty, man. They just need to stick to what they do best. Just be gritty.
Yeah, I feel like being yourself is the lesson we learn from this. Is authenticity. Like, don't try to mimic something just because it works for that director, for that production company, for that actor. Anything you're into, be your unique self because it's not going to be genuine. It's not going to come across as what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, gosh, natural? No, gosh, it's not gonna organic. That's what I'm looking for. It's not gonna come off as organic.
Like even for them. Sorry, I interrupted.
Go ahead.
Even for them, like they were putting way too many eggs in one basket. Like they were mixed. Like I'm a DC fan, I will always be, but at the same time, it's like at least with Marvel, it's like one comic. One line, one storyline. When you put multiple storylines into one film, it's gonna be a total mess.
What are you talking about? Marvel be doing that.
Now we're talking
Marvel
all right, no, guys, hold up.
That's not our discussion, though.
It's veering away from cinematography and story.
I was gonna say,
we'll talk about that after the meeting.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, I believe that overall, as a cinematographer, as just like any other member of the production, story is king.
Yes.
If you don't get close to the story and you don't try to make the story, it doesn't matter if you're lighting it in a specific way. What matters, of course, is going to make a difference visually. But in the end, if you have a very good story and you strive to tell that story properly, then the movie is going to be a success. But you have to have a very good story.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's what you always say about like a cinematographer or a director trying to make the shots look cool, but it not matching the overall story. Like those are supposed to be set pieces as well to contribute to the overall story. If you have a story that has nothing to do with what you're seeing on screen or doesn't, like Brent said, it's the lighting doesn't match the emotions being portrayed on screen or vice versa, it just doesn't work. It has to be a balance of everything.
Feel like it doesn't meld well, and it makes you like, it puts you off. It makes you feel like something's weird, and that's how you should never feel, because everyone always says like the best work is the work that you don't notice in a film. So If you don't
Well,
know,
the thing is, if you have somebody that's, if you focus on the story, you're gonna know what the story needs to be told.
Mhm.
You're not gonna light a very dark, emotional, or a very dark psychological place in a very well lit environment, because it's, unless there is a reason for that. But
Yeah.
that's, again, you need to know what the story needs in order to tell the story properly.
Yeah.
And that's why you need to know
important.
your script.
Know the
That's why
script.
directors need
Yeah.
to read their scripts up and down, understand
Yeah,
it.
if you have a cinematographer that doesn't know the story, then that guy shouldn't be there in the first place.
Exactly. Yep. Another thing I wanted to touch on is, while we were going over all the stuff, they were saying how, like, directors of photography, especially on bigger sets, they usually have not really control, but they have like a very high, like, if they recommend somebody, it's basically they get the job. If they recommend, I've worked with this first AC and he's really good and I like working with him, then they're usually going to hire that first AC, because they're like, well, if you already know and you know that you can trust them and they're reliable, then sure. Why
What if
not?
it don't pan out?
What was
You
that?
fire both of them? If it don't pan out, you fire both of them?
Sure,
I don't
why
know.
not?
Does anybody have any?
It
If the first
does
AC
depend.
was terrible, would you fire the director of photography if he recommended them?
I wouldn't. I would basically ask him.
It's like it's harder.
Yeah,
I would not.
I think I would. For me, if I was running a production and the director of photography recommended someone that sucked, I just wouldn't take their next recommendation as highly, and I probably wouldn't hire the next person they recommend
Yes.
until I can, like, kind of trust them again. Okay, that was just a one-off. Okay,
Brian, I hope
Exactly.
you know what I mean?
you guys agree?
Hmm?
You guys agree?
It's so much harder to find a good DP than it is to find an AC, right? I feel like that'd be,
James, you agree?
Yeah,
you'd have to
I
cast
agree.
both people.
I don't know. I think it's kind of easier to find a cinematographer because everybody wants to be a cinematographer. So
Yeah,
a lot of those ACs that you say, you know, they're gunning for that number one spot. And a lot of times, like DP and director, these are jobs that are already announced before production even. There's no chance. You're not going to see these. I mean, you may see a couple gigs out there on Craigslist, but a lot of them is already.
so you
like
wouldn't even fire either of them, is what you're saying?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question.
I
Okay,
guess it depends on the
we're put in
situation.
this
Guys, you
situation.
gotta learn how to fire people.
Definitive answer. You're put in a situation, Brian. The camera guy sucked, and the DP recommended him. What do you do?
James recommended me as your sound guy, and I did a horrible sound job. What
Well,
do you-
that's the thing, because now you get rid of this camera guy, and you know the camera guy is friends with the DP, so you might actually. And then you gotta question the DP's thing because he's the DP. So it's like, what are you looking at, dude? Like,
Who are you firing? You're firing
you-
firing the DP. You're firing the camera guy. You're firing both.
ultimately, like, okay, let's say I don't understand how you could have. You would have to fire them both
That's what I'm talking about.
because
I
at
feel
the
like that's unfair. What if the guy was
No,
just
it's
like,
not.
oh, he worked
Life is
fine
not
in my
fair.
last
no,
film?
because like if the DP is like, yo, this is some good stuff, and it's not, then you have to look at the DP
Oh,
because
okay.
he's the DP.
But if the DP is like, yeah, he was better in the last film I've worked with him in.
No.
Like if he acknowledges that he did a crap job.
But now
like-
you're questioning. I would actually go back to the DP and like, yo, let me see your demo reel. Like, let me see that again. Let me see what you have in it. Because if it's garbage, and I that's harsh right there to say anything is garbage, but still, like, you have to question, like,
You don't
if you
say.
hired a DP based on his demo reel, and you're like, his demo reel is so good, but then he has this camera guy here, you have to like second guess, like, what artistic
Did you get
approach are
this
you
off of
taking?
Google?
So what
Like,
if it's
what if-
not artistic? What if it's just like he recommended a few, the first and second AC, and they suck. They're not helpful. They're kind
I
of lazy.
really don't see that happening though. You as a DP,
Right.
like I don't see how that's gonna like how can you let that slide?
We're
You're
trying
the
to teach us
DP.
hard
Because I feel like
to
if
deal
you
with hard
if you
situations.
recommend
Okay,
somebody
guys.
to do sound and they suck, I'm questioning your ability to do your job.
It's different because I'm in a that sound is in a completely different department. But for
Exactly.
director of photography,
Oh, if it's the same department, it reflects
Yeah, I
on you.
guess James just mentioned. I mean, both sides I could agree on. James said that if the guy sucks and you just fired a guy because it ain't really got to do nothing with if the camera guy's doing his job and he's doing good, then why fire both of them if your DP is doing good?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking
At
because
the- at the
No.
end of the day, what it all depends on what that picture is gonna look like. But
I agree, James. I was just saying in the what if situation. But yeah,
I
James
feel
says,
like this
wouldn't
is just a
recommend
good.
someone you didn't know was good for the role.
like if you
Sometimes.
hired an AC and he doesn't know anything, like he
But
doesn't,
sometimes
oh man, I
people
don't
F
know what
up.
kind of
Yeah,
lens.
that's what we're talking
That's
about.
cool, but because he could still get some good image. Like he doesn't have to know anything about anything. But if what I'm seeing on my screen is looking good, I'm cool with that. Like I can put up with that. But if
So the main lesson we learn here, guys, is always check their demos. Make sure look at their resume. Maybe get a test shot. Don't go on faith alone. Not in the beginning.
well, yeah, some people will give you a resume first without a demo reel, and then it looks good on paper. Like anybody can say, "Oh, I work for NBC," or "I have a master's degree in video photography and a whole bunch of other stuff." But without a demo reel, like I haven't submitted a resume in years since I've graduated. I've never, I've only been asked for a resume one time, and I took offense to it. I was like, you need a resume, like for what? Like you have my demo reel. What else do you need to see? But
It's like, oh, my work isn't good enough. You need to make sure I was on legit enough productions to you.
I mean, what are you looking for at this point? Like you're looking at visuals, and then what else is my resume going to say on there? Like it doesn't really matter if
it's the same thing as an actor
if
sending in
I've been
their.
if I've been shooting for a whole 2 weeks, but my demo reel is looking like something Philip Bloom shot. I mean, would you still like go against that? Oh, but he's only got. But look at his demo reel. You have to kind of ask the question, like, but his stuff is like Philip Bloom's, like, or anything Michael Bay shot, or any Michael Bay's cinematographers or anything like that. But they don't have the experience. I mean, and they ask for like some crazy, like some like NBC, they want you to have like a master's degree and 11 years of experience just to be considered, you know what I mean? Like that's kind of crazy.
It's so interesting because it's like if you have a good history of work and a good, like what they're looking for, what does it matter? I guess professional setting.
I think it's just because like at that stage, if they ask for a certain shot, they expect you to know it at that point. I feel like.
Yeah, but like he said, if you have a demo reel, if you can see that he's done that he's good at this and he.
But being good and knowing how to do a crane shot or how to explain the crane shot correctly is kind of different. Like.
But if you have a crane shot in your demo reel,
yeah,
I mean that speaks for itself.
I
like
feel
you have
like
a whole bunch of drone shots and crane shots.
If I'm trying to see it from their perspective, I guess it would be like, oh, can he work in a professional setting? Would be the only thing that I can think of.
Ultimately, though, you're not gonna see that though. There's no way you're gonna have a demo reel that looks like that without some kind of experience though. There's no way.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I just feel like it's the same thing as an actor sending in like is it also called the demo reel when it's an actor? I know it's called something. I forgot
a reel.
Okay.
A reel.
Sorry, I'm still learning all the terms. That's the only thing I've been having trouble with. Yeah, there's a lot of terms. I remember all the rest of the stuff, but the terms. But yeah, so it's just like an actor sending in their reel and they're really good. They're awesome, but like, oh, he was never on a major TV show, so we're not hiring him. Like, I feel like that would be unfair to the actor, wouldn't it?
It would be unfair to the production.
Like it just depends. I don't know. For me, it shows professionalism and that they know how to work on a professional set. because you know, once you get in the larger sets, it's a lot different than like a indie budget film or
But let's say you were like Ivan Reitman's kid who grew up in the business and he's grown up on set and he just doesn't have experience actually conducting the job, but his father is the director of Ghostbusters. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't have experience, but he does.
yeah.
Is that having experience though? Just because you've seen someone do it your entire life doesn't mean you know how to do it.
But if you grew up on set, you have to like pick up some kind of knowledge.
You'd think, wouldn't you? There are some stupid people out in the world. Like they can grow up learning, like hearing the same thing over and over and over again, and they still don't learn it. Like it's just.
I don't know. But, okay, so we
I
have
see
to
exactly where you're
answer
coming
that
from. I
question.
understand.
Let's move on.
Let's move on. Yeah.
Let's move on to table reading because it's getting pretty late. I want to get through this because I felt like this was really
And I didn't mean to call anybody stupid. I'm sorry. I meant people who are not as bright.
Too late.
So anyone want to explain table reading from their perspective?
Sure. Yes, I'll go ahead first. Be the first victim. Table reading is when you get together with your other actors and I guess screenwriters and stuff like that, and they sit down and you do a table read to hear how the continuity of the script is going from the actors. If something sounds like off or it don't sound like that character would say something like that, and give the writers an opportunity to go and potentially, adjust the script or something like that, or maybe that character is not good and make adjustments like that.
Anybody else have a different perspective on it?
After you guys talk, I want to ask a question for the people that did table reads. I'm just like so torn on this.
Yeah, like Britt said, it's so that you can get the actors together with the director, maybe some other department heads, the screenwriters if they're different from the director, and they said even possibly if you don't have investors and you want to kind of show them how this film's going to play out, they're still on the fence on whether they want to invest or not. Sometimes they'll invite investors to this table reading to kind of hear how the script's going to go, hear it from the actors. And it's also a way when you don't have, like when you have some of your actors cast, but you don't have the whole cast yet, it's a way to see, how they interact with your main crew, with your main actors, your main cast, and see if they're a good fit or if you're going to go a different route.
Right, or potentially maybe add another character to bring these other characters together, or stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So my question, if it's okay, can I make it now, honey, or do you want me to wait?
Go ahead.
So my question is, we were watching a lot about it and reading a lot about it, and one thing that I heard that was very confusing to me, which it was basically they were saying that the table read should not be for the actors to act the scenes out.
This is all. Wait. Before you say it, this is only one source. The rest, everyone else is saying, let the actors take control of the characters so that you can see how they're going to be. You can kind of give them direction a little bit, maybe if you want to, like, oh, I don't like that line that you delivered. Can deliver it more like this, or you just write down notes and let them know after the fact so they can just read through. But the one source said. And I think
which is considered a pretty trustworthy source, reliable source, which is why I found it was weird.
Where they were saying, don't have them act. So that way you can, because if you have a great actor, any bad dialogue might sound good because everyone's just listening to their great performance. And we thought that was kind of weird because
I don't believe in that.
Why not?
I don't believe in that because
like if you have a good actor, isn't that the point that they can sell a scene? I mean, and if there are problems with it, if it does sound unrealistic. Oh, sorry, Brent. I'll finish this and then you can talk. Sorry, it's just because Dakota cut me off, and yeah, is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. So like, no, but I'm glad you cut me off, honey, because you explained it better than I would have. But the thing was like, if it does sound weird, the actor will talk about it with you, because basically he was saying that the main point should be to discuss, to read through it and see errors and see things that may sound weird, which I also understand in the sense of like, you're not hearing it in your head, you're hearing someone read it out loud and you can have a better idea of how it sounds. If it's like, okay, this sounds weird, we might want to rewrite this. But also, like, you should see how the actor is going to deliver that line to see if it even sounds like a believable line, or if it could sound like a believable line, because otherwise you would have to have another table read with them actually acting it out, because isn't that the main purpose of the table read, is like seeing if they're like, if it sounds realistic, seeing the chemistry, seeing how the lines will come out, you know, that kind of thing. Practice, basically. So it just didn't really make sense to me,
Like,
unless there are two table reads, unless there's like one for like reading it out completely, and then another one where you act it out.
right.
Go ahead, Brent, sorry. What is someone saying
Oh, yeah,
something?
go ahead. Yeah. So like,
Oh.
even for example, when Sarah studies on Sunday, acting studies, she would listen in, and the characters would, the two actors would go back and forth, reading their lines, basically like, doing a table read, so to speak. And, she'll be able to hear, because she knows the monologue. She'll be able to tell if it sounds believable because she knows the monologue. She heard it several times before. So now you hear two different actors put a different twist on it to see even if it still sounds good. Because you can have one actor read something and it sound good, but the other actors are not sounding good, and you'll notice it in the story, or you'll notice it in the table read. If the other actors don't act out and they just read it, just like a regular read, it'll sound different.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
so here's my take on that. So with a table read, this is your opportunity to explain if you're the writer or director, this is your opportunity to present them with the script, because they've read it, but that's it. Now they're getting your insight on where you want it to go, what do you want it to be.
Mhm.
And the thing is about having them act out at the table read. For one, you have actors that aren't going to be in the same scene. Or you have one main actor that's going to be enacting with everybody, but may not be acting with somebody else. So they may be exposed to a scene, and then that might change their whole approach to everything. Because they can be, okay, the main actor is an asshole, so this is how I'm going to act towards him. When your whole idea was to keep them separated because you didn't want them to meet initially.
Oh, but if he's an asshole, wouldn't you want to like know that right
But
away?
the character doesn't. No, not the character is an asshole.
Oh, okay.
But these two characters have never met. You know what I mean? Like, you want to keep them separated. But now the actor has been exposed to that, and now her like whole approach changed. Her or his approach has changed completely just based on what they've seen at the table read.
But
You know,
wouldn't you read through it anyway? Because if you're reading through the entire script in the table read,
because
wouldn't you figure that out anyway?
if you're a director and you're trying to get a performance out of somebody in a room that's air conditioned or whatever, and then you get to the set or you get to on location and it's whatever degrees or whatever, that whole performance is going to change regardless, depending on, where you're at and what's going to happen.
No, yeah,
So
definitely.
like, it shouldn't be like the overall set in stone, whatever, but you're exposing your actors for later on in different scenes to what's going to happen in the movie
Well,
altogether.
aren't they gonna know that if they have the script anyway?
They have
Like,
the script, but they don't, it's on paper.
But everyone acts different.
Yeah.
yeah. The
Yeah.
thing is,
It's,
like,
it's a way for you
well,
to
that-
introduce the actor to your
So
intention for the script.
well,
Exactly.
that's the point though. Then what would be the alternative? Because the thing
Well-
is that we don't expect them to act the same way that they're gonna act on set, obviously, but they should at least like give some effort, right?
I kind of get what Brian is saying, but James just nailed it, where it's the intent just to see where it may go, and to try to, like, you don't want them to go full blown and give the performance of their life. You just want them
Yes.
to get
Yeah, you don't
Exactly.
expect that, but you expect them to like give a
But like,
little bit of
I think it's a
performance.
good way to kind of see what they see in the character and like how they're
right.
gonna go about it though.
Because
That's
the
why-
actor, in
because
my experience, right, when I'm reading a script, I automatically start doing a character analysis as I'm reading. Like I'll read the story, I read the whole script through, try to feel out, and I'll try to create my own character analysis and try to bring that character to life on my own. I wouldn't think about the other people in the room. I'm just working on my character. So now when I get in a room and we're reading, I'm only focusing on what my character is going to deliver. I can care less if that other character is trying to feed off of me at that
What
moment.
exactly? So wouldn't that be the purpose of the table read, is like to see how
But the
they would
table read is
interact?
also to see like chemistry between the actors. If you're
Yeah,
interacting with someone that's going to be
Yeah.
your wife in the scene, you guys need to have some kind of natural chemistry to make it believable.
Anyway, let's let Brian finish, and then Jorge has his hand raised. Sorry, honey, did I cut you off?
No, you're good.
Oh,
Oh
okay.
no, Jorge can go. I'm good.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to know like what the alternative would be then. Would there be two table reads? Would there be separate?
You could have separate reads. Like I do now with all the whole Zoom thing. Like Lagoa said, Lakota said, you want your actors to have chemistry. So like I'll have a Zoom meeting with specifically just them
Right.
separately.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
but
I guess it depends on the project then, because
the thing here, you got to think of it like this: you're having a table read for an entire movie, so to sit there and put so much effort, you're gonna be there all night.
Oh no, but we're not talking about like act it out. We're talking about like let them act, because at least a little bit, so we can have an idea of where they're going with it.
The source, the one source was saying have them not be in character at all. You know,
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
read it in character, just kind of read it. And we were like, well, what's the point? Because they're not, there's nothing really gonna happen between that. If you're just reading it monotone, like you're reading this, few people for first audition,
Yeah, you can get anybody to do that. You don't need the
what's the
actors to
point
do
of
that.
having them all together?
Exactly. That was my point. I was like, well, if that's it, then just have it with the main people of the production sit down and go through the script. If you're just going through it for that, for issues and stuff.
Well,
But
I
that was
think that that's a way to find out, like, if somebody's you're dry reading it, that's to see how, like, the two people without acting, like, not being two, that's just two people meeting each other. So it's like having a chance for, like, if you have two main actors to, like, just meet each other as themselves and then come back, maybe walk out of the room, walk back in, and then do it again with
Yeah,
the intention just, and then you can also
That's
maybe
what Brian was saying. That's what
Yeah.
Brian was saying. You do that later on with when you want to build chemistry with the other character. But I feel personally, if you're trying to just do that in the beginning of the table read, you're just trying to figure out if it sounds good, if it's gonna, if they got need to make adjustments with the scripts, or does it
Yeah.
sound believable? You still need them to act, and then later on, if you want to develop chemistry with that character, then you get those characters to work together to develop that chemistry.
exactly.
Right, because the
That
way
was
the
my
actor is seeing the character or the line being read might not be the same way that the director or whoever is seeing it. And I feel like if you're not reading it the way you intended to during the take, like the
Right.
actual shoot, I feel like it's gonna be more hassle later on if you're like,
waste of
oh,
time.
you're trying to read it like this. I wasn't really expecting the character to act like that.
Because
Right.
the
So
main
you can
purpose
make
of the table read, like Brian said, is also to like make them understand the script a little bit better and have those conversations. Anyway, honey, do you have anything to
good
add?
idea.
I'm gonna get Jorge.
Oh
'cause
no,
he's-
Jorge had his hand raised.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's my experience, and I actually have a couple of examples to share with you. I believe that table readings are very important. It's a way to hear the whole thing, to see how long the thing is going to run, if it's going to run longer than you thought or not, like to get some sort of ballpark. If the story is going to run for I don't know 90 minutes, 95, 120, who knows. So it's very good for that. Number two, it is very good for actors to hear each other. And even though they may be focused on their acting, they're still hearing each other because they need to wait for the line, you know, so to say their lines. So they're still gonna hear each other. And a lot of things they will come to realize that weren't how they were thinking, how they were reading the script in the first place. And for me as a director, it's also very helpful because I can see a lot of things that I thought my story should go, and now I'm listening to people and I'm getting more ideas, and I'm expanding my knowledge of the story, and I'm looking for windows of opportunity where I can make the story even better. So listening to the actors and having a table read and have the whole team read through the whole script, it is very useful for me in order to like acknowledge a lot of things and discover more of things. Because for me, I can only go to a certain height, but if I'm pushed with my actors and all of my team, I can climb Mount Everest.
So when you
So
table read, do you have do you have like them acted out then? And how many table reads do you have?
I honestly don't mind if they want to act. It wouldn't be a problem for me to have them act, because I wouldn't encourage that. If they want to do it, go ahead. I actually enjoy that, because that's, I'm gonna tell a story. I want to know how it's gonna sound, or what they're gonna bring to the table. And if they can bring that early, that's good. But I'm not gonna force them to act, or I'm not gonna give them an acting class right there and then, because that's not. There's a time and a place for things. So I'm not gonna talk to them about and stop the table read because I want to make some points out of them, and explain to them the story in the middle of the table read. I want to hear everything out before they even start talking. We would talk about the story, and they can ask questions and stuff, but that's how I do stuff. There was a specific time where I had, and this was something that I was thinking, just as Brian was saying, that there's people that sometimes you don't want in the same scene. What I did was I was making a reel for, it was a promotional reel for a story that I wanted to film, and I had some people. There were a lot of kids that were kidnapped. Well, it was not kids; it was teenagers that were kidnapped by a guy with a mask. So when I got the whole team together, I had the guy come with a mask, and everybody was there, and everybody was looking at this huge 7 feet tall guy with a mask, and he was still imposing. He was freaking out everybody, and he never took his mask off until we left. That was what I agreed with him. So nobody knew who he was, and nobody saw his face up until the day of the shooting. When we not even when we started shooting, until we finished shooting. So so that's I mean, you can manage things like that, but that's how it is.
Interesting. So what we saw with almost every single case, the professional table readings we saw, they were somewhat in character, in pretty much every single one we saw. And that's why we were, except for maybe a few smaller budget ones where they just read it out a little more naturally, but almost all of them were in character to kind of like see the chemistry, to kind of see how that would come off, and as a counterpoint to like, if you see them act in one way, you'll completely change your character. I feel like I think it can depend, because at the end of the day, maybe that can be a positive as well, because you will understand their motivation, which will help you be a better character. I don't know. I feel like it's very case by case basis.
Yeah, it's a case by case basis, but you got to understand that a lot of the actors compete with each other. They see each other acting, and he's good, so now I got to be good. And you got to understand that when you're cast, we cast you for for that specific when we did casting. You were casted for that role by that.
I mean, I've heard directors that completely took him out in the table
So
read.
if you're trying to compete with somebody else based off a table read, that could kind of mess things up with the director, because now the director has to fight with you to try to get you back down to where you were
Interesting.
when you're
Yeah,
casted.
the way that I would see it is, because I have seen directors remove people in table reads because they saw that kind of behavior. The way that I would approach it is just like, if I'm seeing this behavior now, this is going to be even bigger on set. And so I don't want to work with you if this is going to be an issue. So I would prefer to see it earlier.
Well, it's kind
than
of hard to
see
say
it.
that, because it doesn't, the further up you get in the industry, the harder it gets. So like it never gets easier. You get better, but it doesn't get easier.
As
So
in
like
dealing with
to
people.
say I never want to work with somebody is kind of hard, because it's such a small
Yeah.
community. So you're gonna run into some, and then you might say, oh, I'll never want to work with it, and then you see him on TV the next week, and now you feel like, well, damn, like I just
Well,
had
yeah,
like
but
a,
if it's a nuisance to the set is what I mean, like to the group. If
I
it
mean,
becomes like a really big issue
yeah, I mean,
to where he's trying to steal the spotlight from a main actor, for example.
you gotta cross the line somewhere, but
But yeah, it is a very thin line, and I understand what you mean. I was just trying to like give a counter argument to see like different ways of looking at it. But yeah, that's very interesting. But like you said, I feel like it doesn't depend on the case, on your options, obviously, and you have to be very smart about it and try not to let your personal feelings get too much in the way. Because if you feel like, yeah, I don't really like this person, but he's doing good at his job, that's what matters. Of course, other moral things aside. But what was I going to say? Because I got distracted because Stephen had a question. Anyway, Stephen has a question. I'll ask that. But yeah, it is interesting. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Is like Jorge said, I think maybe the option of having multiple table reads, like maybe one just for that, just to read over it, and then another one to just get a feel for the characters, to discuss the script and to discuss the motivations. Would that work? Do you think that would be a good option, Brian?
I mean, it's
Yeah.
kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah.
But like Jorge said, the biggest thing is like getting a gauge on how long your script is going to go, getting an
Yeah.
idea how long. And like I said before, like this is your opportunity to present the actual script to the cast and everybody that's there. So
I
that
think
should be the main.
maybe good advice for us would be like,
But
at least for me.
I can
Oh, sorry.
understand the notion of like wanting to get everybody prepared ahead of time, if that's what you're getting at, like,
No,
acting.
it's just
But
see like what they bring to the
Yeah, it's just kind
character
of like to
and
see like what the actor's plan, sort of
what
like,
his idea,
what their
Like,
take is on the character.
what sounds realistic,
when
what
you-
doesn't. For example, if he's in character and he's acting out a scene and that sounds weird, it's easier for you to tell than if he was just reading it out loud normally. You
like
know?
I said, everybody has different experiences and different techniques on how they're gonna do their thing, and that's why as an actor you got to be able to take direction. So even if
Yeah.
you go in there and you're trying to act, really well, and the director's like, or the screenwriters, whoever's there, they're like, could you tone it down? Do we just want to do it this way? Then you have to be able to be a professional and do it that way.
Yeah, I
But
feel like
I
it does
always
depend on the
believe
actor,
going in
right?
and you tell me tone it down on and
Yeah.
in the direction opposed to I go there and they're like, could you kind of act it out, and it's like, oh, you want me to act? I thought you
Yeah.
just want me to read it, like, so always go in there and be able to take direction real quick and don't get offended, because everybody has different techniques and experiences, and I realize that when you're hungry to work, man, you do whatever it takes.
I feel like it does depend on the actor as well, because from what I saw in the table reads that I saw, some actors were just giving it their all. Other actors are like sort of just like acting it out, but not too much. And other actors are just reading it out. So I guess it also depends on the actor. Stephen, go ahead. Sorry we kept you.
Yeah, I just was gonna say, I used to watch Project Greenlight, and it was pretty accurate as far as like it had some table reads in some of the productions, and I would just suggest watching that if you haven't, because it's got some pretty cool stuff in it that has to do with what you're talking about, as well as I really liked what Jorge had to say about it allows you to discover opportunities, as well as the pacing and all that. But I also wanted to say it's called a table read and not a table act. So Jorge also said he's not trying to direct. I think he's the one who said it. He's not trying to direct people at the read. You're just trying to get through the script.
It was also, I
like
think it was also Brian. Brian was saying
right.
that he does too.
So it's just kind of like an exercise you go through, and it opens up new ideas for the writers, the directors, the actors, and it should be, I think, kind of not really charged with a lot of energy. It's more just something you sit down and it's almost like a team building thing. So and it can be like a pressure release valve thing, and it's also something really cool that you do for the actors in pre-production, because pre-production can get boring for a lot of reasons, and it's not boring to sit down and read the script. I mean, at least not for me. I think it'd be kind of a fun activity, so it can bring like a lift to the mood of the whole production.
Especially
so there's a lot of reasons to do it, and that's really all I wanted to say about it.
That's interesting.
It's definitely, they were all saying that it's definitely a way to get everybody. This is probably like one of the only times in pre-production you'll have kind of everybody together at once, especially if it's like certain scenes, because certain actors aren't going to even see that actor because they're only in one scene and it doesn't have to do with that other person. So they're not even going to know who's on set. So this table reading is one of the times when you're going to get kind of like the main people all together to be able to discuss and kind of get to know each other a little bit, make it like a team building effort, like you said. And I think it all just comes down to like communication and just being able to work with a group, and being able to like listen to each other and understand where each other's coming from. Because it, like we just heard, it has a lot to do with what the different director wants, what the different actors want, what they expect when they're going into it. And so it's a lot to do with communication and a lot to do with just teamwork and working with the other people to understand, because like Brian was saying, if your actors are trying to outact each other, that's not good on set. That's not good in a table reading. That's not good anywhere, because it's just going to make it get out of control. Like when you have singers who try to out-sing each other, it usually just...
Oof, it sounds so bad.
It becomes terrible, like, because they're just trying so hard and they extend it and they just keep going higher and lower and trying all this different stuff. And it's like they're not really doing what that production was supposed to be, which was just, a musical. But now they're like extending it beyond belief because they're trying to outdo the person that just came before them. So it's a lot about humility and being humble and being able to take and give feedback and communicate with everybody to kind of see where the script is lagging, what dialogue is missing. They also said, like, if you're the screenwriter and you're there, don't get offended by people, because they're going to be giving you their honest opinion. The actors read through their character. They know that character. They're going to be trying to portray it as best they can, or just read through it. And if they're like, this dialogue doesn't sound real, don't, like, as a screenwriter, a lot of people might get offended by that and be like, well, you just don't know and don't get defensive. Like they said, it's an open experience. You have to be open. It's a lot of people being vulnerable because it's their work, it's their baby. It's the actor being vulnerable because they're giving it, they're opening themselves up to that emotion of the character, or just giving their opinion, and that's always kind of scary. So it has to be an open and communicative environment. Yes, yes, Daniel, you have your hand raised.
Yes. Oh, do you raise it before I forget?
Oh, that's fine. The reason that I was cutting people off is just because I wanted to transition to you guys. So I'm sorry if I did that. Go ahead, Daniel. And I did it again.
Cut me off.
Yes.
Yep.
How ironic.
Yes.
Okay.
Very.
So also, like whenever, like, you kind of beat me to the punch on that a little bit, but even with table reads, like I get what everyone is saying. Like I do a little bit of everything, but also at the same time, sometimes even on the day when we're filming, some people will basically like, oh, what if we change the words to this? But when you have table reads, that gives the scriptwriter time to change that if they like that better.
Yeah.
So it's like if they change like one line, if they want to change one line, they can discuss it and it's like and say why and give their just like their 10 seconds of just why that line should be changed. And sometimes the director, sometimes the writer will agree. But if they don't agree, it's like at least that's not on the day, and they're not gonna. I've seen some actors have hissy fits because they don't want to say that line.
They don't get their way.
Yeah, and
They didn't read
and-
the script.
And that's the
Yeah.
way I see it with like just from hearing from all these experiences of everybody and talking to people and just seeing it on behind the scenes. It's always the people need to be able to take constructive criticism well,
And this goes for everyone in the industry.
Like,
not to
just give it
correct
out without expecting it to be followed, because like you just said, if an actor gives a line and the guy's like, I don't think we need to do that, the actor shouldn't get offended. They're okay, got it. Like I don't know, like there's so much ego involved that it's hard to get everybody to work together, but that's a huge thing that everyone needs to learn is
like I don't remember that.
Sorry, go
Sorry,
ahead.
I'm interrupting. No, go ahead.
I kind of interrupted you.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, but like I was saying, it's like even on what I'll say one experience myself. Like when I worked on Night in the Museum. I don't remember his name right now. The lead actor of that movie.
Robin Williams?
No, not Robin.
Oh,
Williams.
honey.
Ben
Stiller.
Affleck? Not Ben Affleck.
Ben
but,
Stiller,
No,
geez.
not Ben Affleck.
Ben Stiller. Like Ben Stiller had so many times he wanted to change his lines, and he was going into hissy fits.
Oh, don't say that about him. I like him.
So like he just had a few changes in lines, and that's it. Like he just wanted to change a few things, and just like sometimes he got his way, sometimes he didn't. But they didn't exactly have a table read on that. They basically he was just like I just keep on seeing soak, and it's like I want my line like this. That doesn't make sense. I'm like, I get it. Like I get it from both points of view here. It's like sometimes you're too much in a rush on production. Sometimes like it's good to have a table read, even if it's with the main actor. Like if it's with the main actor, sometimes the director and the main actor should just go through a table read by themselves. Because like I don't know who said.
Well, you can go ahead and I'll tell you who said it.
Sorry?
I said, you can go ahead and we'll try to figure out who said it.
But basically like when you're basically talking with the other actors, yes, some people will try to act better, try to act superior over the other actor to outshine them sometimes.
Well, that doesn't work because that'll make everybody look bad, because the problem is to have a good story. If one person, it's gotta mesh with, or it's gotta be like purposeful. Like if you're the odd character out and you're doing something like odd than everyone else, then that actually creates a scene because you're being the conflictor. But
it's like sorry, I you.
So like if one person has like different energy, sometimes that can really create a dynamic scene where it's not about being outshining the other person, but you want to have a little bit of contrast to up the stakes and make it come more alive. That works very well.
It's like the whole like it's not. I'm not saying Justice League movie, but like Justice League in general. Like there's basically all the heroes have their dark past, and then you look at Superman, the goody God hero that outshines everyone else and tries to act superior.
He doesn't do that.
Yes, he does.
Okay, let's not get into this, people. You're
Anyway,
making this
character, right? So it
but
works. It's part of the
I get what
character.
you're saying. Like they paint him as better than everyone else. And
Yeah.
him as the
Like
most
they give him a more of a spotlight than most heroes in DC.
Yeah.
But the thing, sorry.
Oh no, it's just
no,
speaking out loud.
no
Speaking
DP
out loud.
passion,
I'm
no.
fine.
Just
Thinking out loud.
making an example.
But yeah, even when you do give, like you on your point, Daniel, yeah, that's very interesting because I have heard of a lot of actors wanting to change certain lines. But yeah, I feel like without a table read, it is harder because you don't have as much time to actually make an argument as to why, and those decisions need to be like split decisions and quick and like, okay, we're gonna go with this or we're not gonna go with this. And
then-
sometimes having that discussion is crucial because maybe their suggestion would work and maybe it
That's
wouldn't.
why the table reading is important, to get everybody to be able to talk about that stuff before you're on set, because on set is a lot of money. Being on a table, that's nothing. So
Yeah. And as far
Well,
as like the
that's-
director giving notes, the one thing that we heard is like Brian said, Jorge said, you won't want to cut them off in the middle of a dialogue and give notes. What they recommended is you wait, you have those notes written, and then after they're done, after you've seen the overall performance, your notes may change. You can be like, oh, okay, now I get what he was doing. Or you can be like, okay, I just have one thing to add. What were you feeling when you thought of this? Or maybe you could try this differently or something like that, have those notes and see how the actor interacts with them. And like Coda said, in every aspect of the industry, because people say it about the actors a lot, but ego is in every aspect of these. Yeah. Like it's not just the actors. The actors get a lot of flack for it, but it's not just that. It's in a lot. And we need to understand that we're in, a situation where we're not always going to agree. And this is all about balance and finding what works for everyone.
What I find is just like bite your tongue and just kind of, you don't have to agree, but you can just keep to yourself. So if you're on set, you don't have to like cause problems or anything. You could be quiet, you could go do a great job.
If you feel like it's crucial to the story, you can fight for it a little. Like if a cinematographer thinks that a scene is essential, then fight for it. But if you don't get it, just move on. Unfortunately, that's just how it goes.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it comes down to it. It's up to the director, and above that, it's up to the producer to override him if he wants. And so, it's not up to everyone else. It's up to them to keep the story structured and flowing, right? And
I was just gonna ask, is Devinder not?
Brent, you had
sorry.
your hand raised. I just want to get to you real quick, and then I'll get to you, Daniel.
I was just gonna ask about Devinder. Is his audio not working? Because I was gonna ask his opinion on it. All right, go ahead. Sorry, Daniel or Brent?
Brent
first.
Brent had his hand raised.
I'm
Go ahead.
getting ready to leave, but before I leave, great information, guys. But great information. I also wanted to add, like, even sometimes when they don't want you to change a line or anything like that, when you get on camera, well, I've experienced when you get on when you're doing a play, sometimes you gotta improvise and there'd be a lot of improv going on because either you forgot your line or it's just you got so caught up in the character that you just flowing and you're not even saying what you're supposed to say. You're just going with the character and what do you think the character would do in this situation. Sometimes it works and the director be like, we can use that, and sometimes they're like, nah, I want you to stick to the script.
And that's fine. That actually, to be honest, like working with somebody who's very it could be like harsh sometimes, and you had to kind of get used to that. So you just, keep yourself quiet out, go back to work. That's one way if you do, because emotions are real, so you just manage it. And then the other one is like eventually you just get used to like working with somebody in someone's style. So if they're like straight to the point, like if they're the type of director that wants to keep it directly to the script, then you have a choice to go with it or why or not, right? So I don't know, that's kind of how I see that. So it's like, I don't know, mixed feelings. But then it's like when you're starting to act in like the problem sets in is when you start hitting different emotional planes to make the acting really good. That's when I find you might come up to like weird reactions and things, and then you just kind of sort through them as best as you can and try to do exactly what that they're asking you to do.
Right.
There's no problem.
Daniel wanted to add something? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Brent.
No, just agreeing with Sarah.
Got you.
Daniel wanted to add something?
Like, this is just my way of doing it. Like, everyone has something, different way to do it. Like, usually if someone wants to change a line or change an action, I usually just say, tell me why in 10 seconds or 2 sentences, why you think that should be changed. And if they have a good point, I will let them, usually I will give them that chance to do it, and then I will do it the way I want as well. and then we'll see in post and editing, like post, yeah, and what will look better. I've done that on many of my films, and usually I would take over. Most of the time, I've taken their shots, but sometimes I've taken mine. But I'm like, I like giving some people the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Like, if they basically have a good point why this shot is better. And good night, Brent.
Oh yeah, good night, Brent.
Oh my,
Basically, it's like
5 a.m.
it's like okay, so and so and so. Okay, that sounds awesome. Let's go for that. But if it's like if I don't like the points, I'm like, okay, if we have time, we will do it.
Yeah, like if you have time, go ahead and capture it just in case, because you might find out you like it better later anyway.
Yeah. But if
you don't have time, and that's when you have to just kind of put your foot down and be like, sorry, we don't have time. I know you want this, and then you just have to hopefully they respect that and move on instead of throwing a fit, because that'll just cause everything to be delayed. And yeah.
But
Oh, what do you
again,
mean?
it's like,
Oh,
go ahead.
sorry, Sarah. Go ahead.
What was that?
What, Sarah?
Sorry, I kind of missed that. What were you saying? Like, what do you?
Oh, I was just saying, I was just adding to Daniel's point, like, if you can capture both lines or both shots and you have time for it, then you can go ahead and just do it, and maybe you'll find out you like it better in post when you're editing it.
And like I said, I don't know if you heard what I said, Sarah. Sorry, I interrupted you, Lakota.
Oh, you're good.
Basically, I just give people like 10 seconds or 2 sentences, 10 seconds or 2 sentences rhymes. Basically just to tell me why they want that change. And if they have a good point, then I let them like have that point. It's like, if it looks good on camera, I'm happy. And then we'll shoot both ways.
Yeah,
but I feel like if it's going too off topic, I'm like, maybe next time. But you never know. Like if I have time by the end of the day, I'll squeeze that in for them. If it's like, if they really want that shot, I'm like, okay, I'll squeeze that in for you. But if it's like, if the point is like, I don't see it why it doesn't work, that's the point when I'm looking at it. It's like, at the end of the day, we'll shoot that. But if I like it,
like if you have time, so that's what I was adding to his talking about. If they have time, then just go ahead and capture it, because might as well see if it works better. See if their line of dialogue works better. See if that different shot they want looks better.
Like end of the day or before moving locations.
Yep. But if you don't have that time, then you just have to put your foot down as like the director and let them know, like, I'm sorry, I understand you really want this, but I just feel like the story needs this, so we're gonna stick with this. And then you have to hopefully expect them to respect you on that, or respect the director, whoever they may be, and just go along with it and not throw a fit and cause the whole production to have to like slow down because they're throwing a fit about this line or this shot they want.
Or another option could be just trusting.
Very collaborative effort that you need to have everybody working together.
Sorry, what'd you say,
That's
Tristan?
why you'll see a lot of productions, when they find these crews, when they find these people that they work really well with, they mesh really well, they hire them on like every single thing they're in, because they know that they all work together well.
Yeah, no, that works.
And I was just gonna say, or you take that risk and be like, you know what? Sure, go ahead. But that's a risk.
Well, the thing is, that's time on your hands that most of the time you don't have.
Right.
Exactly. So, honey, is there? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Daniel.
Yeah, and just you got to be careful, like for that stuff. It's like if that shot doesn't work out and you replace the one you don't have, they don't have a reason why. You're taking 5 minutes, 10 minutes,
Yeah, exactly.
a minute.
So it's a huge risk. Like if
And
you're
that
taking
1
that
minute,
cost.
as we know, is like 20 minutes of setup.
Yep.
So if they wanted a completely different shot, it's like, that's why I give them like either 10 or like a couple seconds to tell me why, or 2 sentences. If I like it, I'll go for it. It's like, but I'm not going to just rip down the whole set just for their change, unless it's like really crucial to this scene.
Yeah, if I get upset over something, I usually just manage it, myself, because it's like you don't want to. You try not to cause problems ever, because like occasionally you're gonna hit you're gonna have bad days and stuff. So you just kind of manage it and move on. And then also the good news is that, even if something doesn't work out in one place, doesn't mean it won't work out somewhere else. So would be my recommendation is not to take things too personally. Like with auditions, if you audition somewhere and don't get it, don't take it personally. If a table read or you don't get a call back, don't take it personally. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So just to touch on a few things for table reading, some of the stuff we saw that we liked and I wrote down is just, it's a way to see also how professional everyone is going to be. If you don't have your full cast and you have like two of your main cast and you're trying to see if this third character, kind of a side character, is going to be meshing well with the other two or not. And then you see that third character arrives late, they're not taking it seriously. That's a chance for you to be able to just get rid of them right off the bat without having them come on set and take up a whole day of production. So that's a way to see how professional they are. Are they arriving on time? How are they treating this? How are they treating the other people? Are they meshing well with the other actors? So it's a way to kind of get a sense of that. Something else, let's see, something we haven't covered. If anyone else has anything, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, and again, like, oftentimes, like, if something doesn't work out, it's also saving everyone's time, because then you could be working on another product, like somewhere else. So,
Mhm.
so
Yeah,
you want to like, no, it's like I'm all for like giving everything your best shot and going for it and like making things work, especially if you're halfway through. Don't stop halfway, like at least finish it and then reassess, because you're gonna hit bumps along the way, and that's how you get better. But yeah, if just like there's the odd occasion, it hasn't really come across really for me, but because you can usually try to find something, but there's some people like it's just hard, and you just kind of do the best you can and smile and yeah, or not even, or just kind of like even if you can't smile, at least keep your mouth shut. This is my theory.
Smile and look pretty.
Huh?
Smile and look pretty.
Yep.
Yeah.
They said another thing for the table reading is sometimes you might cast your production before you actually have set dates for shooting, because you're still working on financing or figuring everything out. And setting a date for the table reading and then having that table read is a really good way to show the actors and everyone involved that this is real, it's actually happening, because things can be in limbo for a really long time. So having a table reading at least makes it feel a little more like real than
Definitely.
just putting it off for forever and not doing anything with the production at all.
Yeah, no, and it's good to like sit down and really like point out, because like when it comes to like work, it's like a separate kind of deal. So it's like you have the scripts, you have the vision, you have the story, and then it's like at the table read, you could like read something, and maybe for whatever reason you meet someone, they're like, yeah, no, I'm not playing that character, and you're like, well, then you just save yourself a whole world of trouble. Right there, because it's just like, yeah, or like they're gonna be like, or they'll be honest, or be like, yeah, that's gonna be challenging, but I'm up for the challenge, and then you'll be like, okay. So it's like it's good to be able to sit down and talk about things, because then
well,
you can
hopefully
make
by the
that
time we get to
happen.
the table read, they've already like read the script and tried out for the
Yeah.
script and know what kind of character they're gonna play.
Yeah,
But-
hopefully.
But sometimes
Then-
people are casted last minute as well.
Yeah, I guess that's what
That's
I'm
definitely
thinking
true. So they say that a table read usually happens around the end of pre-production. Like once you have most of the other stuff in place, you'll do your table reading, so you'll have a better sense of everything. And that's just like it's kind of like your first rehearsal for before the actual principal photography starts. And let's see. There was something else I wanted to mention, but I don't know if I have it. Always record the table readings. Like they said, like you want to review it later. If you're the one directing or one of the production heads, you want to be able to review that stuff later and see if it didn't work, because maybe at the time it seemed like it did, but if you're rewatching it, you can kind of see, oh wait, that doesn't really work as well as I thought. So you always want to record it so that you can go back and see it again, hear it again, and see if something didn't feel right in the moment, but you couldn't really, like I think Jorge was saying, you don't want to stop it to be like, wait, try this. So instead of doing that, and if you forget to go over it at the end, having a recording is a good way to look back at it and change lines before you get to set.
Or have someone keep notes if you don't want you to record it.
Mhm.
Have some in there on notes.
To keep all the notes of what works, what doesn't, stuff like that.
Yeah, all the notes that was said, all the stuff that was basically wants to be changed, and then basically have a meeting with the production team, like with the main people right after.
Gotcha. That's cool.
That's what I've done before when some of my talent doesn't feel comfortable. It's like, I don't want to be recorded during this reading. I'm like, okay, then I'm just gonna have this person keep notes. Is that okay?
Well, that's weird. Like the notes are not going to be necessarily the same as the recording because you won't.
No, but
like it'll be their perception of it, not.
Well,
what we
another
actually
good thing about
see.
recording it is you can also use it in behind the scenes. So sometimes, like,
And
when
also, like, why would an
or-
actor not want to be recorded if they're going to be filmed?
no, it might not be the actor. It might be somebody, one of the department heads. It could be anybody.
Ah.
But I know, like, there's been certain,
But-
I think, like on the Lord of the Rings production, the White.
But some people don't go fully into their like they're just go sloppy. I'll say that word. I'll say they'll go sloppy for the day. They don't do makeup. Sometimes they don't feel comfortable being on camera because they're not all dolled up for the day.
Okay.
Then you shouldn't. I don't know. Like I feel
No,
kind of
I
like
know, like,
so no one's going to be able to record it because one person thinks they look ugly. Like I'm sorry, but then you should have gotten. I don't know. It just feels like you're being a hindrance on everybody else.
Yeah, but
I think in that instance, I would keep the recording and I would just blur out the person because
Yep.
you still want to have that. I mean,
Yeah,
I get what
that's-
you're saying. I just, for me, like if I was doing a production, I would want to have behind the scenes, just as much as I could have. So
I usually
I would
record
probably
my
blur out their face, change their voice if they're really that. If they really don't want to be like noticed that much.
Yeah. Now you're kind of like, that's
Or maybe,
so much
maybe you can
disrespect.
just tell them. You can just tell them that you're gonna record beforehand, so
Yeah.
Wear a
they're
mask.
aware and they
Yeah.
come prepared.
Because they're like,
Also-
I don't want to be on camera. And you're like, well, okay, well, I'm gonna record you anyway. We're just gonna blur your face out. I don't know. They might not
Bring a
take that
tape
well.
recorder then.
I
There,
get-
you
yeah, I
fixed.
get what you're saying.
What's a tape recorder
Hey,
now?
you do audio.
Yeah, record it on your phone. I don't know, whatever these young kids are doing.
Young kids. You're acting like you're so much older.
I feel old, man.
No, but yeah, I get what you're all saying. You're right. They could that could change their performance.
But always figure out alternative if you need to. That's what I'm just trying to say.
But that's also,
Yeah.
that's why it's also good to have like those open discussions and let everyone know beforehand what's going to be going on. They even said certain productions will have makeup and wardrobe there just to kind of get a feel of what their actors are going to look like, what they're going to need and sizes and all that, or just what they'll look like in the clothing if they already have it ready, stuff like that. So they said always let everyone know what's happening if you do have people coming. If you do have investors coming, or you're going to have wardrobe or makeup there, you let everyone know before they get there so they know what's going to happen. So it's always good to keep an open communication, and like Brian said, let them know beforehand they're going to be recorded so they can decide how they want to go about it, I guess. And they can talk to you about it before they get there is the main thing too, so that you can figure out what you're going to do differently, or if anything. The last thing about table reading I wanted to just bring up is a lot of people can do it virtually now too. I've seen virtual table readings, and I wanted to know, Brian, James, Jorge, Daniel, you guys, do you feel like doing an online virtual one works well, or do you think it works?
The vendor
in
too,
person?
like we will contact if your mic's not working, please let us know. Because I actually really wanted his perspective on this. So like if his mic's not working, maybe we can hear from him next week.
The
Yeah.
vendor's been connecting since I got here, so I don't know.
He's been connecting since he came in, so I don't know what's going on with the audio there, but
Yeah, because I just didn't want to exclude him from this because like I feel like he could really contribute to it. So I just wanted to make sure that, he was aware that we're trying to
We're trying to
get his
Go
opinion. Yeah, they were trying to get his opinion.
But yeah, what do you guys think? Virtual.
I don't like them
compared to
personally.
in-person?
I don't like them personally.
Virtual?
Yeah.
I think there's a time and place. Like if you have to do virtual, then you have to, like, if people are in far locations, it doesn't
Yeah.
make sense. So you could do virtual or over the phone. I mean, if you can do something in person, that's always a step up. But virtual is not bad.
Yeah. Like I agree. Like, but I don't like them personally. But again, like what Sarah said, if they're far away, that makes completely sense.
Mhm.
Why don't you like them personally?
I just don't feel like really don't capture as much as you want. Like basically you don't like, because sometimes like in my opinion, like I like seeing some people act a little bit in their readings, like have a little one-on-one acting just to see their chemistry.
Mhm.
But
I
sometimes
see.
like, because like again, I don't remember who's saying who because it's so many people now.
Yeah.
It's like and that's a good thing. Good job. But yeah, basically it's like sometimes like some people don't get along. Some people like their chemistry doesn't mix.
Mhm.
And it's always good to see that and see how it's going to be, the reactions are, and if they
How you're
could
gonna
just,
deal with it?
yeah, if they can just suck it up, princess, pretty much suck it up, buttercup.
Oh, gotcha.
But I hate that saying, but it works for the saying right now too well.
Okay.
But it's like sometimes, like I've seen feuds on set before. Like yeah, I've seen feuds on a few shows I've been on between two actors. And one I will say example right now, Riverdale. There's feuds on that show right now.
All the teen angst of those 25-year-olds.
No, it's between Betty and Jughead right now.
Gotcha.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Well, does anybody else have an alternate take on it?
I enjoyed my little virtual. I mean, there's benefits to both. And for like in person, you get an idea of like how tall your characters are, what they look like together. Those are things you're not going to get on the virtual. And then of course there's, they're not going to be making eye contact with each other.
Right.
And then of course there's always distractions. Like if that person has a kid or something, that kid is going to be in the background 100%. Like I don't care if you got kids, they're going to end up somewhere in that room. So it brings more distractions in, and the performances, well, even though you're not reading it for the performance, but there's always like that digitized, if
It's
your
not
Wi-Fi isn't
not as
good.
natural seeming. Is that what you?
Yeah, it's not as natural seeming as it was, but I still, it's beneficial because especially with COVID, like it was like the only way to go and the safest way to go, and then it does save you a lot of time trying to organize it and work around people's schedules, and when they can just go home and log into a computer or log into their phone. So
Right.
I don't know, but I would say like if you want, I'd say shoot for the in-person, but like if you're on a time crunch, or maybe if you want to do one in between, then do the virtual.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Jorge, James, you guys got anything to say? Or anybody else?
James, do you want to go
Questions,
first?
Answers?
Because I feel like I've talked a lot. So,
You can go ahead.
You did not
Astonishingly
talk
enough,
a lot. We like
sorry,
it
my
when
phone
you
was in my
talk. Keep
pocket.
talking.
I was sorry, my bad. I was gonna say I've actually never I've never done a table read, so I'd like to. I just haven't had the opportunity.
Got you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jorge, do never think you talk too much. You are a very great asset to the group. We appreciate you. Everyone
thank
is.
you very much.
Good save.
Yeah, what I would say is
Oh, sorry. Go
What I
ahead.
would say is I think I'm just same with I'm sorry, I don't know, it's coming up as Slate Media, so I don't know your name.
Daniel.
Daniel. Yeah.
Daniel. I would say the same as Daniel. I'm not a fan, and just like Brian said, it has its pros and its cons. For me, I think it.
I'm sorry about that. So for me, I would say it's basically
The online thing if you have no other options, or if you're like tight on budget or tight on time. But it's never gonna be. I was formed my education, and I was taught to do things on the theater. So there's so much that you get from in-person stuff that you can't get through the eye of a camera, through just a phone conversation. And and just like Brian said, there's so many distractions that go on. It's like everything's gonna distract, like people having their phones ringing or getting text messages, or like it's so easy to lose focus, and you're not gonna control people. You can't control people. You can't control the environment where they're at. You can't say, oh, please, everybody just shut off your phones, or
Quiet on
just,
set.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it should be there, but it's not. The problem is it's too informal, because we're used to doing these things, and that's of course what we have right now. That's the times we're living in. If you're doing everything virtually right now, well, a lot of things, most of the things virtually right now. So people just are taking this as second nature, and they're not giving it like it's they're more used to. So and again, that
So you're
there's
saying there's
pros
not
and cons to that, because they're
professionalism?
more comfortable to be even like having an interview or doing a casting online with like a Zoom call or whatever. So it's see you, Sarah. So it is more comfortable, but I mean, they can get too comfortable, and it's just it's chance. It's basically chance, and I'm not really into that. I would prefer to do things in person, because you can learn so much more from body language and stuff, that you can actually pay attention to people when they're doing stuff, or you don't have like the screen jumping around or whatever, if you have more than one person that you're casting.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is it can be distracting, and people tend to not give as much as they would in person
I
because they're
think so.
in a more relaxed
think so.
setting.
And
That makes
it's of
sense.
course it's just in a case by case basis.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. Thanks, guys, for all the different perspectives and everything. I like how we all have different views on it, and we can like kind of
Yeah, definitely.
in this group.
We really appreciate it. Like everyone's different perspectives, learning different
Does
opinions.
anybody have any questions or comments or anything as for table reading before we just jump into these documents? These documents will be real quick because they're very specific, so they're not going to be a huge discussion, but they just kind of quickly go over them after this. But does anybody have any questions or comments or anything about table reading? Okay, Arden, thanks for coming. All right, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and then we'll just jump into the last little bit of this.
If we're lucky, we might finish this before midnight.
I think we should. I don't really have, like I said, there's not really too much to these. It's just the sound report we were going to go over. That's just something that a location sound recorder will use, and they'll use it while on set. They're just marking down the scenes and the takes, and they'll get that information from the slate or from the script supervisor, marking that down and just taking notes. Like, was there a problem? Was there a car in the background? Was this a good take? And they'll kind of mark off their best takes. They'll mark off something that didn't work or there was a problem in that. That way, later on in editing, they can grab all this information, and the sound mixer can know quickly what a good take would be, and if they can use it And if they, what a good alternative take might be if they can't use the one that that they said is good. Like some he's saying right here, he has okay, good, 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 and then so like he would know, okay, that okay one, I'm going to skip that one and try the other ones first. And if I can't use those, I'll go back to the other one. But it's just to give the editor a little bit, not the sound mixer a little bit more
freedom.
Yeah, like it makes it quicker, the process quicker, so they don't have to listen to every single one and hear for themselves. And then maybe later on hear, oh, there is a car in that background. I didn't notice it until, so it's just easier for them to go through and find
And they have
what they need.
and they have that extra sound. So if they do miss a car, then there's that car of that sound on standby.
Yeah. And the other thing this is used for is to show what tracks were used. And they show, this is just one version of it. There's different versions, but there was one that they were showing on one of the videos that was talking about, they had like, if it was a boom pole, if it was what kind of boom pole it was, if they have a bunch of different equipment on set, they want to know what equipment was used in which scene. That way, if they have to do any pickups or if there's a scene taking place directly after it, they probably want to use the same mic to make it sound as similar as possible and not mix anything up and keep the same mics on the same people and the same tracks on the same people to have it all. Which of course, there's leeway with that, but it's just like to keep track of everything in case they need it later for the next take or the next day or pickups. So that's what this report is for. It's for the sound location recorder. And it's a good thing to have all these reports, everybody marking their own thing. Like last time we looked at the camera reports, but the sound reports are important for the same reason.
Also, Brian, if you see anything that should be added on there, since you worked with sound a little bit, let us know as well.
Or anybody, yeah. If anybody sees anything like, oh, well, I would add, or I would take.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, we use this a lot too, but the last feature I did was Macbeth, and I was going back and forth with the assistant director.
Macbeth, as in the one with Michael Fassbender.
Yeah, that's this Sally. I don't know her last name, but the director, she's a theater director, and then because of COVID, like they decided to just turn all their plays into like feature films. So they take all their money from the theater and they use it to produce these films, and I just happened to fall into that.
Cool.
That thing. Yeah, but they're back now. They're doing plays and whatnot, but I'm not sure. I don't know what happened to the film. We spent like 3 months on it, and then they kind of just disappeared. But the footage looks amazing, though. Like it was shot on the Canon C Mark, the newer one, the newest one that came out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like
Mark III.
Yeah, it was some legit stuff too. It was some good stuff. But like me and the assistant director were going back and forth because like he would want the this is what I do on my set is like all that stuff you see on the slate, the clapper.
Yeah.
Like for me, like I don't care about it. The only thing I care about on that clapper is the take number on the recorder for the audio. So that way when I edit, I can just look at the thumbnail. I can see the number and I don't even have to open or listen to anything. I just know what numbers are automatically on there. So like me and him were going back. I would add like after each take, I would tell him, okay, the sound is good. And then I would tell him the recorded number on my recorder. So that way when they went in post, they didn't even have to all they had to do was say, okay, this is good. What's the number? And then go on the file and find it that way without even having to open anything.
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh yeah, that was the other thing. This is also used to name the files later. So
yeah, nobody like every set I've been on, like lower production said they never do that. They go by the clapper. They'll put take one, which is cool. Take one, roll one, all that stuff. It's everything is digital now, so that's like not even that important anymore. And like, I mean, it is for like bigger scale productions when you have film rolls and stuff like that. But the most important thing is that audio clip number, so that way you can link it up. I mean, nowadays everybody has the audio sync, so they just throw it in a bin and it automatically syncs it up for you. But I'm not that fancy, so like I like to have the audio number on my video, so that way I can just, without having, because when you edit, you open the video and then you have to listen, to find out what take goes where.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had
But
that problem. It's annoying.
yeah, and an
Takes
easy
a
way to get around it is just to put the number on the recorder. Just put that on the slate. You don't even have to go through all that. Just put the number on the slate. So all you have to do is look at the slate, find the number, and then go find the audio track.
Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting take on it.
Yeah, I'm the only one that.
Like that it's file number 37, and that's take number scene 5, take 3, or something like that, right?
Yeah, you don't even need it. You don't even need scene 5, take 3. You just need the number that's on the recorder. If you're trying to find an audio file, put the audio number from the recorder on the slate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good tip.
But yeah, so yeah, that's what we were doing. We were going back and forth, getting the slate number. So when they went in editing, when the editor went to edit, they had a sheet similar to this, and it had all these numbers on there. But like somewhere on there was a number for my audio takes. So she would just go on there and say, "Oh, the director said that this was a good take. Where's the audio clip number for it?" And they would just go look over to the left a little bit, and my audio clip numbers. There was no need to have to go fight. And I mean, you would organize the audio, of course, but it just saves so much time from having to individually like listen to each audio take to find out which one goes where.
Right. Yep. And then also on this report, it's like the sound mixer or the sound recordist will put their information down. So then if they do need to contact you about anything, they have that right there, because the sound recordist will be turning these into production at the end of the day each day, or at least a copy of it for the production to have, just like Brian was saying, so that they have it and then they give it to their editors or the sound mixers or whoever's handling post-production. So yeah, it's just a good way to keep everything very organized and make sure you know what you did. And also, one of the things that I was thinking is it's a good way to know if you've recorded room tone, because then you can have that take. You can have the note, this is room tone, this is I don't know, track 1 of character 1, or whatever it is. And it's just a good way to keep track of every of what you've recorded for audio, is basically what I was meaning. But yeah, does anybody have any questions or comments or anything? Is Daniel playing cricket?
Daniel, what do you say about the cricket?
Hey, that's the first time I've done
to the last one.
No, it was a second, and you know it.
Equipment checklist, and this is kind of more for if you're doing it all kind of yourself and you're kind of having to keep track of everything. This is a good sheet to have just to know what kind of equipment you need. And then once you go to pre-production, there's a few different like versions of this. It's like looks kind of like that, or it can look something like this. And you just kind of have an idea of what kind of equipment you'll need after talking to all your production heads. And then you have this list for when you're going, if you're bringing all the equipment yourself, or if somebody else is bringing it, you have a list so you can check off, okay, they said they're bringing it, I'm bringing this. And then you just keep checking it off as you go, and you have all that equipment. So it's coming onto set without you forgetting something or leaving something behind. Yeah, Daniel, you raised your hand.
Oh, I was about to say what you said is like, it's always good to have 2 of them on set, because then you know what you brought to set, and also when you're leaving, you can check it off or laminate it.
Right, and that way you can know that you're not leaving anything behind as well.
Yeah, and always do a clean sweep before you leave as well.
Yep. And so yeah, so this is more for if it's like all you. The higher up you get, the more you get into like specified versions of these, where it's like the camera department will keep track of their stuff. But for the most part, for lower end productions, you'll be keeping track of a lot of it if you are the production head. So it'll be something like this, where you just kind of keep track of what you need, what you have, what's been brought, and then like you said, what's been packed up and taken off a set. So yeah, does anybody have any questions, comments, anything for this? All right. So yeah, I think that's it, guys.
You could tell I didn't even have the mic on, and you could still hear.
Oh, these two.
I yelled way too loud.
I
My
mean,
poor neighbors.
we've already went over this last semester, and it was the shooting schedule and the script breakdown. Priscilla sent out videos on the WhatsApp. If anybody is online and they want to kind of have that same information, let us know and we'll email you, so that if you're not part of the WhatsApp group, you can still get that information. But there's also a video on us talking about this sometime last semester. It should be in one of the titles. If not, you can ask us and we'll send you it personally. And we're going to go more into detail on shooting schedule because we did a preliminary one last time, but that's going to be another week. So I just wanted to kind of quickly let you guys know about those two things, because I know they were in the syllabus, but we didn't really go over them, and some people were asking questions about that. And so last, I just want to go through what we're going to be going through on Thursday, and then we'll go ahead and say goodbye to everybody. So the first thing is we're going to be learning more advanced camera techniques. That's just different things that they're going to be doing. It's not really movement. It's more like how to use the camera, like rack focus. We were talking about that a few weeks ago. It goes into more detail about that, some of these videos, and just different techniques that people use to make a story flow. Personally, I don't really know exactly what's on these videos. I just know they're talking about advanced camera techniques. So I'll be learning along with you guys what's in here. Basic lighting, like you guys were talking about in this meeting, we're going to be learning about 3-point and 4-point lighting, which are pretty much the most basic of the lighting. And it's just going to go over what the fill light, the, hold on, let me think. Fill light, backlight, and the key light. And it's going to tell you what those mean, what they are, and what they do when you just have somebody kind of like in the center of the shot. And then we're going over union actors versus non-union actors. We're going to be learning like what the benefits, the pros and cons are for having a union actor, and what the pros and
So
cons.
hopefully Devinder can have his mic fixed by then, because that would be really good to have his take on it.
Vendor and everyone else who's worked on sets can kind of dive into this.
If not, if Devinder's
and
still
it'll
here,
just be
sorry,
kind of
honey.
like what's the benefits and what's the cons. Of course, when you have union, you have to follow a bunch of rules, and when you have non-union, it's a little more free, but it's also the actors are more new, so they might not be as professional, and there's a lot more.
He's got his headset on. I think his audio showing.
Huh?
Devinder's audio showing.
Devinder, do you
Yeah.
have anything to add?
No, I was just going to add to the sound section that you guys were talking about. When I was shooting any Bollywood movies in Canada, we always hired a sound guy with his own equipment, because all the actors that I hired in Canada, those weren't the principal actors. They were day role actors and so on. So it didn't make any sense to fly them to India to dub their sound.
Mm-hmm.
So the sound files were very important, and the paperwork was very important, because all details go to India, and we dub the sound over that with somebody who sounds very similar, professional, and the sound has to match the body language and the lip sync and so on. So that section was very important. We only record live for everyone, but principal actors, those who come from India, we dub them over there in Mumbai. But the rest of the actors who are background or day play actors, we use somebody else's sound to dub their sound in India. So this keeping a file, that the guy I hired for the sound recording, he just gave me at the end of the day what he recorded, and so I sent that with the camera crew when they back to India, and that's how they took over the dubbing section to it.
Devinder, if you're able to be here next week, that would be wonderful to talk about unions and such. If you're not, there's no problem. We can maybe schedule a call and ask you some questions then, and then discuss it in the meeting.
Thursday, right? Yeah.
Yes, Thursday.
Uh,
Thursday we're going over that.
I have a UBCP meeting on the 27th. That's a Thursday.
It'll
So
be
would
the
all work better for
20th. The 20th is the one we're going to go over that stuff.
Oh, I see. So that's a week before. Yeah, I will be here on the 20th.
Awesome. Okay.
And maybe you can also give us some of your feedback on the topics we spoke today, since we won't have time today. But
Yeah,
mention
I
some-
worked. I worked non-union. Now I am an ACTRA member union. So I have seen both sides of it.
Yeah. Okay. That'll be interesting.
That'll definitely be interesting. Thank you very much.
Alrighty.
All right. So guys, I think with that, just we're going to be going over advanced camera techniques, basic lighting, union versus non-union actors on Thursday. So study those things that's in the syllabus, and that's it.
And I smell like spices.
Oh
'cause I
wait,
forgot everything.
Devinder, do you have anything to add about the table reading and anything? Like the table read what we were discussing? Do you have a different take on that from what other people were saying, or anything you'd like to share? from
Are
your
you
perspective?
asking me?
Yeah, I was asking like if you had anything to add or your perspective on table reads.
I'm
if you feel like
sorry.
it should be-
I was away
Oh, okay.
upstairs. Yeah.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess with that, does anybody else have anything to add or ask? All right, I'm gonna stop the recording right there then, guys.
Again, Daniel.